got a call from Linda Hoover
Yeah.
wanting details on what qualified, what didn't qualify to be reviewed by the Historic Commission. And what we have is on the comparator.
Maybe. Is everybody supposed to be here tonight?
So I suggest.
I would assume. Yeah, Nancy's not here. They may have moved seats. I'm not sure who all else meets in here, what other boards or commissions. There may be one that they had less seats and they just didn't bring it back out.
Oh, yeah, we only had 5 in here on the Board of Zoning Appeals last week, but they.
Pretty slim pickings. Was it? Yeah. Maybe only 10 of us there.
How many people on it? Is this a historic?
Yeah, well, the local,
Very nice, very nice.
Okay.
not the commission.
We probably
We got a loaded one tonight.
Oh, I got you. It's not, I see what your organization, okay.
Were you still serving wine?
Yep, of course. We have to.
That's how you get to 10.
Are you guys all ready to get started? Okay, so we have not yet elected officers for the 2025 year, so I will go ahead and call the meeting to order at 6 p.m. Ms. Fetters, can you please call the roll?
AJ Minto,
Here.
David Cash,
Here.
Gabriel Shanlin,
Here.
Nancy Griffith, Roger Daniel,
Here.
Will Parsons,
Here.
and the Middletown School District School Board appointee.
Here. All right, and now can everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So the next item on our agenda is going to be the election of officers, the chairperson and vice chairperson. Do I have any nominations for chairperson?
Well, Mr. Cash, I know that you're already with the BZA. Do you want more responsibility on top of that?
I'll defer. I'll defer the nomination, thank you.
Can everybody make sure your microphones are on? The button will be raised if it's on.
Any other nominations? Anybody want to volunteer? Also an option.
I guess I'll be bold and say I'll volunteer.
I'll second his nomination.
All right, Mr. Minto,
Yes.
Mr. Cash,
Yes.
Mr. Shanlin,
Yes.
Ms. sorry, she's not here. Mr. Daniel,
Yes.
Mr. Parsons,
Yes.
and Ms. Ramsey.
Yes.
Great, then the next election will be for vice chairperson. Nominations or volunteers are welcome.
I'll volunteer for vice chairperson.
Easy enough.
I will
I'll
second.
second.
Oop, beat me to it.
Either way, it's been seconded.
Mr. Minto,
Abstain.
Mr. Cash,
Yes.
Mr. Shanlin,
Yes.
Mr. Daniel,
Yes.
Mr. Parsons,
Yes.
and Ms. Ramsey.
Yes.
And then we do need to appoint one commission member to the Architectural Review Board. Two, excuse me. Nominations or volunteers again.
Are there any qualifications required for?
No, there are some preferred members of the Architectural Review Board, but no specific qualifications.
Okay.
I've been doing it for several years now, so I can continue. Although, I thought I looked, and once you're assigned, you're on it until you come off of the planning commission.
I actually did see that today.
And then I guess Roger Daniel would stay on.
Yeah.
And that would be, Nancy Griffith was on there with me this past year.
Probably good to review it on an annual basis anyway, but if you still want to stay on ARB, then,
Doesn't matter whether it's annual or not to me.
okay.
I just,
I'll second that.
To maintain the 2 planning commission members that are currently on ARB.
All right, Mr. Mento,
Yes.
Mr. Cash,
Yes.
Mr. Shamlin,
Yes.
Mr. Daniel,
yes,
Mr. Parsons,
Yes.
Ms. Ramsey.
Yes.
Will, do you want to remain as the alternate?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, the next order of business are the meeting minutes from December 11th and January 13th.
I'll move to approve them. Oh, sorry, you have to read them, don't you? No?
No.
Sorry.
Nope. Gosh,
we don't have that much time.
man. I'll second that motion.
All right, Mr. Mento,
Yes.
Mr. Cash,
Well, I seconded that, but I wasn't here on the 13th. I will, yes, on the 11th, December 11th minutes. I wasn't here on the 13th.
I'll second the other one.
all right, Mr. Shamlin,
I was not here in the last meeting. Does that matter?
You can rely on your other planning commission members to confirm the accuracy of the minutes, as long as you've actually reviewed them.
I have, yeah. So yes.
Mr. Daniel,
Yes,
Mr. Parsons,
Yes.
Ms. Ramsey.
So before we get into the public hearings, it looks like we have a lot of people here who might want to testify. So in the interest of time, we're hoping everyone can just stand up who might want to speak and raise your right hand. And we'll just swear everyone in at once.
Do you all solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give before this commission will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
And then when you step up to the podium, if you could just give your name, your address, and then confirm you've been sworn in. That's all we'll need. Mr. Parsons, do you want to take it from here? Is the new chair?
Thank you.
Point of order, did Ms. Fetters, were you sworn in as well?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Good. I will apologize in advance if some of my decorum is maybe off. I will get better as I go. So there may be times if I need prompting, again, I'll apologize in advance. In which case, it looks like we are going to the next item, which is a public hearing for the final development plan. Would you like for me to read through what's on the agenda there?
It's okay.
I don't think so then.
So this is going to be a request by Vanessa Stickle of Skilkin Gold on behalf of Drew Richland of Sheets for approval of final development plan for a Sheets and Fuel convenience station to be constructed at the northwest corner of State Route 122 and Union Road as a section of the previously approved preliminary development plan for Renaissance Point. For property background, the proposed development is part of the previously approved preliminary development plan, Renaissance Point. It is equating to a total of 1.98 acres of the approximate 51 acres of the preliminary development plan. The final development plan proposes to be located on the northwest corner of the development in Lot 1 of the Renaissance Point plat that was approved by Planning Commission in October of 2023 and then by City Council in November of 2023. The preliminary development plan's project narrative under retail, restaurants, entertainment, there is a convenience store with gas was approved at the northwest corner of the site. The subject property is zoned BCHP. The zone change from BCH to BCHP was adopted by City Council on April 4th of 2023 and went into effect on May 5th of 2023. Per the Middletown Development Code, Chapter 120407, Part B, Part 15, the purpose of the Planned Development District is to provide an opportunity for creative and flexible land development, where a base zoning district will not accommodate the proposed development, but where such a development will further the purpose of this code and the goals and policies of the master plan. The Planned Development District is designed to allow for deviations from certain zoning standards that would otherwise apply if not contrary to the general spirit and intent of this code. For the staff analysis, the proposed project will be constructed on 1.98 acres and feature a 6,139 square foot convenience store with a single lane drive-through and 6 double-sided fuel pumps for a total of 12 fueling pumps. The convenience store will be located over 150 feet from State Route 122, 200 feet from Union Road, and over 125 feet from Middle Drive, and 50 feet from the future development in Lot 1 to the west. The maximum height of the building, including the architectural cupola feature, will be approximately 26 feet, and the building will have facades comprised of brick and stone. The fuel awning will feature stone columns comprised of the same stone used on the building elevations, with the remainder of the columns painted exposed metal to support the fuel canopy. A single lane drive-through is proposed with the audio equipment located on the southeast area of the property, and the pickup window located on the east side of the building, approximately 55 feet from future development to the east. The development will also include an outdoor dining area on the north side of the building and a bike rack on the northwest corner of the building. The applicant will need to provide a detailed lighting plan that identifies the location, height, and type of luminaries and shows how the applicant intends to comply with the lighting chapter of the development code. The general locations, however, of the light poles are indicated on the site plan, and they are going to be the dark features throughout the plan. Moving on to landscaping, the landscaping plan indicates 6 canopy trees, 10 evergreen trees, and 5 understory trees, and over 200 shrubs will be included. There is a focus on landscaping around the monument signs and dumpster area and enclosure. The required landscaping area per Chapter 121609 is 3,374 square feet, and there is 3,374 square feet of landscaping area provided in the development. A total of 40 parking spaces are provided for the final development plan, including 2 ADA compliant spaces. Access to the business will be provided from State Route 122 and Middle Drive. The access along Middle Drive will include 2 full cuts to allow for safety and vehicular circulation. Cross access with the larger development to the east will be provided in the northwest corner of the property, regulated by a stop sign. The signage proposed includes 2 double-sided monument signs located on State Route 22 property frontage and the corner of Union Road and Middle Drive, each for a total of 51.69 square feet. Additional signage will include the menu board, clearance bar, order box, canopy signage, fuel dispensers, and wall signage on the front, right, rear, and left elevations of the building. Going into other department comments, city management provided the following comments. The materials that make up the monument sign are subject to change, not including the square footage. Staff is currently working with all entities involved in Renaissance Point to develop a cohesive overall aesthetic with signage, including the materials for signage. This will allow for uniformity in the look of the development, not interfering with the square footage of the proposed sign. So that 51.69 square feet will remain the same unless the applicant changes it. It appears the dumpster has mounting as well as landscaping around the perimeter. It is recommended that this aesthetic is upheld in construction in addition to the screening of the dumpster that is proposed. And lastly, the lighting plan requirement to be submitted during permitting. And then Public Works and Engineering provided the following comment. Clarification is needed on the proposed grading of the site. The grading plan shows different grades compared to the landscaping plan. Here is the final development application. Here is the letter of intent from Skilk and Gold. It's a lot, but here is the site plan on your left and then the grading plan on your right. There are pictures of these in your staff packet. Here is the proposed building elevations, the fuel dispensary and canopy. And then here is the Part B that's referenced and it was adopted as part of that ordinance 2023-2020 or 21, excuse me. This is important because it includes the retail approval. That includes the convenience store that was approved by council, as well as the other planning elements. I know it's blurry on the screen, but it does include the planning elements such as structure and materials of building. As for staff recommendation, based on the staff report provided, staff recommends approval of the final development plan for the construction of a Sheetz fuel and convenience station to be constructed on the northwest corner of State Route 122 and Union Road in Lot 1 of Renaissance Point plat. Here's your review criteria for a final development plan, and that will conclude my staff report.
Thank you very much. At this time, does the commission have any questions for staff?
Yeah, since we have elevations here, are we approving any variances to the development standards, architectural standards?
No. So anything under a development plan is excluded from the architectural standards. You guys passed that text amendment in July, I believe. So they're not, but no, everything.
The amendment was if we approved it here at the planning commission, it didn't need to go to architectural review.
So everything is
Which is
brick
fine.
and stone, so they are in compliance.
But are there any variances we need to be aware of that's being requested here?
No, there are no variances being requested or required.
Okay.
Any others? No? Am I correct in that we're good to move into a public hearing then? Okay. Well then, at this time, if anyone would like to come forward and speak in favor of the final development plan, we invite you to do so. Come down to the podium.
They're not working.
Right here? All right. And if you would please identify yourself for us.
Yes. My name is Vanessa Stickle, and I'm with Silk and Gold, and I'm representing I'm reset now. Thank you. So my name is Vanessa Stickle. I'm representing Skilk and Gold on behalf of Sheetz for the Sheetz proposed development. So are you all familiar with the Sheetz brand? Have you guys been to one, familiar with what they offer? The made-to-order food, the fuel stations, they have the indoor and outdoor dining component. They also have the drive-through, single-lane drive-through. Through the drive-through, you can also order like any type of convenience items that you would like so that you don't have to go into the store. For those of you that aren't familiar, they were founded by Bob Sheetz. They're third-generation family-owned. They offer, like I said, made-to-order food. You can also get beverages. The company wages are in the 90th percentile for their employees in comparison to other competitors. They also have heavy community involvement. So they do Sheetz for kids during the holidays, and then they also do some local sponsorships, and then they operate 24/7. So Claire walked us through kind of a lot of the components as far as the site itself. Sorry, I just went backwards. All right, if you can stop, yeah, on the site plan, thank you. So this just shows the site plan. Claire did go through this in detail. You can see that, you know, the full access is along State Route 122. There's also the 2 access points along Middle Drive. You can see the building is 6,000 square feet. There is the parking spaces surrounding the area. The fuel pumps themselves are up towards the front of the parcel along State Route 122. The drive-through lane is to what would be my right, and then the little U shape down at the bottom, that's where you would pull in and place your order at the kiosk, and then you would pull forward to the order points on the window. These are showing you kind of the finishes for the building. It is stone and brick. They do like red metal awnings above the windows. And then in addition, there's like the red canopy that's above the building. This is just a sample of the floor plan. So bottom left, where you would walk into the sheets, you can see that you have kind of the dining area right to your left. And then there's the kitchen area where you can get your made-to-order food behind that. And then as you come through the space, you know, they have all the convenience store offerings. There's the beverage cooler. The restrooms are in the back of the location. And then you can also check out either via like a mobile kiosk or you can go to the cash register. And then the next couple of slides just shows through kind of a view. So this would be coming down State Route 122, heading towards the sheets. So this is the view that you would see coming down the road. This is kind of sitting at that intersection there, looking towards the Sheets building. And then this last one here would be coming up Union Drive, where you would make a right onto Middle. And you can kind of see the landscape plantings, like I'm really bad with landscape names, but there's like pine trees that you can see off in the distance. That's where the trash enclosure would be located. So we're showing that that's fully screened by landscaping around there. And it gives you a nice visual of what it would look like as you kind of, you know, head down the road and pull into Sheets or go past it. And then we did review all of the staff comments that Claire had provided, and Sheets is able to fully comply with all of those, so we don't have any concerns moving forward with that. That's really all I have at this time. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions?
Just one. If you go back to the site plan, I see that the U-shaped part with where you enter the drive-through, why is it designed with that gap for cross traffic? Aren't cars going to like back that up?
So from what I understand, like the drive-through stacking for Sheets is not that prevalent. So as people pull forward, like it'll naturally flow through. So it's not like a traditional like QSR where you would see like heavy drive-through stacking. The drive-through is kind of minimally used. And you know, they appropriately fit the cars. And then it's also like pavement marked also, so that if you are in that bottom U of the drive-through, you can stop and then not pull forward until it's open. But typically their stacking is not that significant.
And something else I've noticed while reviewing this is, here, let me make sure I'm getting this in the mic. Something else that I've noticed while reviewing this is that the spirit of the Middletown Event Center Plan District is to encourage a walkable portion of our new city gateway. And I feel as if this site design plan kind of runs contrary to that. There is no way to come from this building anywhere else in the development without being in direct conflict with car traffic, which is the #1 no-no when you are designing a walkable, pedestrian-focused part of town. So that's something that is definitely not counting in its favor for me.
Okay, so for I assume you're talking about the pedestrian access and then
Pretty
like,
much,
being
and
able
how
to.
it integrates with the rest of the developments. I also noticed that if you go back to the overview of the planned development, like the color, yes, that one, you can see right above where it says the C-store, that there's supposed to be a small slice of another retail establishment that is like close by. And this sort of varied, here, I've got it written down here. And the plan development the plan development code for under part 9, sorry, I should have told you to bring this part up, but it says that's intended to encourage variety and arrangement and uses of the location, bulk, and shape of the buildings. So I just feel like this type of development is not in line with what we're shooting for in the Middletown Event Center. That's
Well,
my bit,
just
sorry.
really quick, remind Planning Commission that the preliminary development plan has already been approved. So we're largely just looking for compliance right now with the preliminary plan. I totally get where you're coming from, bringing up the spirit and intent of the PD district, but that's more of the preliminary stage of this process.
Okay, I understand.
And something else I would point out is in Exhibit B in your packets, there is a disclaimer that was approved through City Council that things are subject to change.
Do we have any other questions or comments? No? All right. Thank you. If there's anyone else wishing to speak in favor, please step forward. All right, seeing none, we will move to anyone wishing to speak against. May step forward to the podium and identify yourself. All right, seeing none, I will close the public hearing then. I mean, personally, it seems to me with having the staff recommendation for approval, everything is compliant. It makes sense kind of right there on the edge with the event center. I would be in favor of approval.
I would move for approval.
I'll second that.
Mr. Mento?
Yes.
Mr. Cash?
Yes.
Mr. Shamlin?
Yes.
Mr. Daniel?
Yes.
Mr. Parsons?
Yes.
Ms. Ramsey?
All right, so that brings us to old and new business. Item A is a text amendment case.
Do you want me to take it? Okay. All right, so this is a request by City Council to change Chapter 122601, Part B, Part 2, to allow for City Council to appoint all 7 members of the Planning Commission and remove the membership of the voting member that is appointed by the Board of Education for the Middletown City School District. The text amendment also modifies that only City Council can appoint a new member to the vacancy. The removal of 122601, Part B, Part 2, Part P also results in an update of the bulletin. You can see the bolded text of everything that would be affected by this text amendment. Here is a screenshot straight from the development code of the affected text. Here is Exhibit A that shows the proposed modifications highlighted in yellow and also includes strike-through text showing the removal. Attachment A is the ordinance that initially approved this appointment back in 1959, I believe. Attachment B are the meeting minutes from the 2 meetings where this ordinance was discussed. Attachment C is at your seats, and as I said when I sent out the staff report, I was working on this at home and I didn't correctly scan in both sides of attachment C, so attachment C, all 6 pages, is at your seat. And then as you can see on the screen, this is public comment number 1 that I have received for this text amendment, excuse me. And then here's your review criteria for text amendments, and that will conclude my staff report.
At this time, do we have any questions or comments from the commission? No? All right, in which case, are we following the same procedure then for public hearing? Okay. In that case, at this time, I would open up the floor for anyone wishing to speak in favor of this text amendment.
Good evening. Just my comments will be brief. We've had 60 days since we've had this text amendment brought before Planning Commission. No new discovery. You have all the information. And all we're looking for as City Council, because we did send this down to you with a 3-2 vote, is a no vote, meaning you advise us this text amendment should not happen, or a yes vote, meaning what you've done before with other text amendments, meaning that's fine as it is, or yes with addenda. But if you put addenda on it, you have to vote a yes, which has to have 4 yeses or 4 noes. And just a general reminder, check chapter 1226, section 3D. You're here to initiate, hear, review, and make recommendations to City Council.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions or response? Okay. Oh, sorry.
If I can ask a question of Mr. Horn, I know we had this discussion back in December. Can you relate to us again, council's objective in removing the school board representative from the Planning Commission? Absolutely. It's per the comprehensive agreement that City Council voted 5-0 back in April. And you made a statement, and I want to make sure that your statement was talking to me. You were not making this statement, because in your statement you said that they were relinquishing some power in the meeting, in the minutes, but you were talking to me about it, because I don't want anyone to say that Mr. Cash said in this document that they, being the school district, gave up their power. I want to be very clear about that, but it was, and Claire wrote it correctly. So, and this is just to remove an entity and to add a City Council appointed voting member. The school board meets monthly with the city, the 2 companies as I call them. They actually have conversations with the city on things that you might see in a quarter or a year or never at all. Also, per that document, if a developer comes in and says, okay, I want 100% on the TIF agreement. The agreement that we currently have is 75%. The city has to go back to the school board, not the planning commission here, the school board, and say, hey, ABC developer for the town mall appreciates that you're going to give 75% on the TIF, but they want 100%, and they don't want it for 15 years, they want it for 25. So there is a negotiation always going on with the school board. All we're saying is that this was signed by the school board and by the city as an agreement. It was renewed. It's been renewed since 2015. It gets renewed in 2027. If they don't like it, then they can just not sign it. It is law. Either they sign that agreement or they are on all deals. The school board has other things to concentrate on, so that's why they made this agreement, to make it where it's like, okay, we're going to trust that at this level, you make all future developments and all deals with TIFs, 15-year tax exemption, and 30-year tax exemptions. That's all. And then we will vet, as we said we were going to do, and I understand Mr. Cash's comment about, well, the school board vets more thoroughly, just like the police department vets more thoroughly. Our vetting is just so people are understanding, number one, what they're signing up for, because you volunteer 12 months of your lives to be here for 1 to 3 hours, and we appreciate that. Because if you weren't here, it's not law that we have these commissions. The city council, which this is a city council board, all the boards are. It's clearly written here in the charter. And we appreciate what you do. But if you weren't here, then we would have probably 4 meetings a month at the same pay. So we appreciate all that you do, and you are, though, an advisory board. We sent this down to you for your advice. And I feel that we've given you more than ample time to deliberate. This is not your task to say, no, this does not go back to city council. It has to go back to city council for another public hearing, and then after that public hearing, if it gets the necessary votes, then it will go to the law department for legislation, first reading, second reading. It will not be an emergency. If it passes then, it'll be 30 days past that. All we're asking you to do is just to review it and say, no, not a good idea. Or, yes, it's fine, like you've done with other text amendments. Or say, yes, but we want to add these addenda to it and send it back to city council. That's all we're asking you to do. I understand that. And I've read the comprehensive school compensation agreement, and it seems to be, to me, that it's simply focused on the objective is that the school board says, with regard to tax incremental financing, we're going to trust the city fathers to deal with that. We get our percentage of whatever the tax is, but it doesn't seem to address any of these other issues regarding the purpose of this or the goal of this text amendment. Well, again, then
I'm just,
then convince.
I know you've relied heavily on this agreement to intimate that the school board's representative no longer has any interest in the planning criteria for the city of Middletown.
Right. Then I just
That doesn't seem to be addressed in the.
Then I just respectfully ask the planning commission to first, second, and vote for no's.
Well, I understand the advisory nature of this commission,
So,
Mr. Horn. I clearly understand that.
and let me give you an example of something that really happened, because this would be the first time that you set something up, no, and we changed everyone's mind. You had a case, Mr. Hensley, and he owned he owns the Tottle Inn up at the corner of Cincinnati Dayton Road and Roosevelt. And you guys can check this public record. The city, what he wanted to sell it because he wanted to go spend time with his grandkids, which is fine. It was listed as multi-use. He has an acre of land that, in my opinion, no one would want to build a home on. But it was multi-use, it was commercial and multi-use. His realtor advised him to get it zoned as, or changed as business only. So the city planner and you said, no, it's going to stay multi-use. You send it back to us say, we want to keep it multi-use. And this is why, not just because we said so. You had valid reasons why you wanted to do that. City council reviewed it. It was not out of malice or anything like we're going to show them who's boss. No, we reviewed it. And out of a 5 vote, 3 people decided to change it over to business. That's what we did. And it was not any reason aside from we looked at it and was like, okay, maybe we see the reasoning behind it, but we also see why he, as a citizen, wanted to change it. So we voted against you. It wasn't anything of, we felt that you didn't do your jobs. It was not that at all. It was, you said no on this text amendment. If you say no, it'll come back, and then we'll hear the cases again, and then we'll vote, and we'll move on.
No, I don't want it to be a tug of war between this commission and council. That's counterproductive.
No, and as I said at the previous meeting, which we had on an odd day, and I'll just say it now, even though we're kind of out of order, I would encourage this commission to meet every month and look at the text amendments. See, that's why you're here. Look, why is this here? And does it make better sense? So, and with you having a law degree, Mr. Cash, you could really help guide them on how to write it properly and everything. That's what you're here for also, is to help us with there's 2 volumes of this, by the way, it's very, very thick. So that's why you're here, is to help us as the advisory board to send things up, which they have done before, and we welcome it. So that's just the purpose here. It's not going to be a tug of war, and yeah, I just get very passionate at times, but that's just me. Don't advise anyone to be like me at times, but my feeling is, and that's what I said at the last meeting, is we've had enough time. Just vote. Thank you.
All right, I feel we're getting a bit afield of the public hearing, so let's keep things moving. We can talk and have time to deliberate. Is there anyone else who wishes to come forward to speak in favor? All right. Seeing no one, we'll move to, if anyone would like to come forward to speak against this amendment, I'll invite you to come forward. Please identify yourself.
Oh, you haven't been sworn?
Oh, you missed it.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give before this commission will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes. Thank you. Identify yourself if you would.
One of these days.
There's a lot of stuff. Good evening. I'm Chris Urso. I'm the proud member of the Board of Education. I'm actually the president. I sent some comments. I appreciate you uploading them to the public record. First off, thank you. I appreciate your service. As a board member on a different board, I know the time and energy it takes to go into this. And so good evening, boarding members of the Planning Commission. For more than 9 years, I've had the privilege of serving as president of the Middletown Board of Education. During that time, Middletown City Schools has deeply valued the collaboration with city leadership. This partnership is critical. When we work together, we create the best possible conditions for Middletown's growth and resurgence. As a school board, we are concerned and frankly confused as to why a relationship that began generations ago in the 1950s is now being questioned. The presence of a school board member on the Planning Commission ensures that we remained informed and engaged in decisions that affect not only city planning, but also the fiscal, physical, and human resource decisions within our schools. There's a direct link between city planning and school planning, and this connection cannot be overlooked. Equally important, this collaboration allows us to be knowledgeable and prepared when making decisions about tax incentives or abatements, issues that frequently come before the school board. Having a seat at the table ensures that we provide a voice, a perspective, not a majority voice, but one voice in conversations that shape our community's future. For more than 70 years, this system has worked. It has provided value, ensuring that our schools and cities do not operate in silos, but instead share in the responsibility of building a strong, vibrant Middletown. Why change that now? I urge you to recognize the importance of this partnership and the role it plays in our shared success. And so thank you. And a point of clarification, you're right, we negotiated some prearranged abatements. It's not because we have other things to do or better things to do. We wanted to provide the city leverage when they negotiate contracts that they have prearranged systems in place. And so it's an advantage, I think, this relationship between schools and city and planning commission and being able to work through problems that's in the greater good for all of us. And so thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. If there's anyone else wishing to speak against, please come forward. If you would, please identify yourself.
Yes. Make sure we on.
Yes.
Rick Pierce, 1505 South Brio Boulevard, Middletown. I'm also the Chamber of Commerce executive, serving Middletown, Monroe, and Trenton. So thanks for letting us speak to you guys this evening. And as being on a lot of committees and a lot of boards, thank you for your service here. I know it's nothing simple and easy to do, giving up your time for such a worthy project. Allow me just a few minutes to talk a little bit about the potential implications on your vote on removing the school district representative from Planning Commission. We must first ask ourselves, what message does this send to the tax-paying citizenry of Middletown? And more importantly, what is actually gained by removing that district representative? We believe there are three critical scenarios. One, reduced advocacy for educational interest in city planning. A weakened collaboration between the schools, the city, and businesses. And three, a diminished public confidence in government and business stability. I will spend just a few moments on each one of those. Reduced advocacy for educational interest in city planning. Without a school district representative, decisions on zoning, land use, infrastructure risk being overlooked the vital needs of our schools. This lack of representation could exclude schools from critical discussions about housing, transportation, and public facilities that affect our students. This also impacts the business community. Businesses rely on a strong educational foundation to prepare the workforce for tomorrow. Employers need a pipeline of qualified, job-ready graduates, and without intentional planning, our schools could fall short of providing this. Businesses thrive in communities where schools are equipped to produce a prepared and adaptable workforce, and losing representation could jeopardize the alignment. Additionally, the longstanding city school compensation agreement enabling the city to extend TIFs and CRAs without requiring a school board vote has demonstrated the power of great collaboration. Removing school representation risks creating tension and miscommunication, threatening agreements that benefit both schools and businesses by supporting sustainable development. Number two, a weakened collaboration between city schools and businesses. Strong collaboration between the city school district and business community is essential for addressing shared challenges and fostering growth. Removing the school district representative weakens this partnership, reducing the effectiveness of joint initiatives that depend upon communication and trust. There are several ripple effects from this. Without collaboration, the ability to address population growth and its impact on schools could falter. Joint initiatives such as shared and recreational spaces or public safety programs benefiting students and their families may face delays and/or disagreements. For businesses, this lack of coordination can mean fewer opportunities to engage with schools on programs that prepare students for local careers. Employers depend on schools to align curricula with industry needs, ensuring a seamless transition from education to employment, which is the focus of the last many years of their Passport to Tomorrow initiative. A breakdown in collaboration risks disrupting the pipeline, forcing businesses to look elsewhere for talent, and can be a costly, time-consuming outcome. The last item diminished public confidence in government and business stability. Finally, what does this decision communicate to the broader community? Removing school representation risks the perception that education, arguably the foundation of our community's future, is being sidelined. Parents, educators, and community members may view this as a signal that schools are no longer a priority in city planning. For the business community, this sends a concerning message about the city's commitment to supporting workforce development. Businesses looking to relocate and/or expand often evaluate a community's schools as a key factor in their decision. A weakened partnership between schools and the city could deter investment and stall economic growth. In addition, a move risks alienating stakeholders across the spectrum. Parents and educators who prioritize education's role in community planning, the business community, which depends on strong schools to prepare a competitive workforce, and the taxpayers, who may perceive favoritism toward other stakeholders or a lack of balanced priorities. In conclusion, removing a school district representative raises significant concerns. It threatens collaboration, weakens advocacy for schools, and risks public and business confidence in our city's ability to govern inclusively and strategically. The long-term impacts on our schools, our businesses, and our community's economic health far outweigh any short-term gains this decision might bring. I urge the group to carefully consider these points and reflect on the lasting message this decision will send to our community, our businesses, and our future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak against this text amendment? We need you, yeah, over there. Thank you. Have a seat and identify yourself for us. Oh.
Okay, do you want my name and address or what?
Yes, please.
Okay, excuse me. Got a little bit of a raw throat. My name is Tom Brickey. I live at 539 Cedarwood Court here in Middletown, and I have been a resident of Middletown for a little over 56 years. Thank you for letting me address you again. Some of you may recall that I spoke at your December meeting. I'm here at this meeting because I care. I care about our school district, and I care about our city, and I care about the successes of both. This item that we're discussing has been labeled as a text amendment, but I'm here to suggest that it's far more than a simple text amendment. In my opinion, it is an orchestrated effort to arbitrarily terminate a long-standing established practice of having a school board member serve on the planning commission. And I can speak from experience. First of all, there has been a member of the board serving on the planning commission since the year 1959 that we know of, and perhaps even longer than that. But the documented record that I was able to get a hold of established 1959. Now that is just slightly over 65 years. 65 years of having a board member serve on the planning commission. Now I myself served 22 years, and I'll explain why in just a moment, 22 of the 65. And I can tell you, folks, there was never a problem between anything having to do with the board and city representatives at any time. Were there issues? Of course there were issues. That's part of the process. The issues get discussed. The communication takes place. And everything goes through that process. And the end result is a positive one for everyone. 22 years is a long time, and I didn't plan it that way when it started. I expected to serve 4 years, which is a typical tour of duty. But after that period of time, the board, during that time period, asked if I would considering another term. And I said, well, certainly, you have that faith in me, I'm happy to do it. Well, that happened several more times, and after 22 years, my wife decided that I'd done it long enough, so I did submit my resignation. But I can tell you, folks, there were never any problems. There was a lot of very beneficial communication between both the board and city administration, city government. Because let's face it, we're all serving the same stakeholders. We really are, from sometimes different perspectives, but it's all for the good. And I can't remember any issue or any item becoming an issue until now. Now all of a sudden there is an issue. And quite honestly, folks, I haven't heard anything from anyone that makes any sense toward supporting removing a school board member from the City Planning Commission. And when you look at the numbers, the school board position is 1 out of 7. 1 out of 7. Now that shouldn't be a threat to anybody about anything, in my book. But it's an important voice. Again, keep in mind, 1 out of 7. Excuse me. For those of you that were here during the December meeting when I spoke, there was an individual who really got very loud, in fact, threw a temper tantrum, and Mr. Ambergy had to call him down. And a few moments later, Mr. Ambergy stated, "There's something here we don't know." Well, I tell you, I'm inclined to agree with you. Only I'm going to express it a different way. I think there's a hidden agenda. I don't know what that agenda is. I don't pretend to know what it is. But I do think there's a hidden agenda here, because nothing makes any sense. This has been a long, long relationship that has been beneficial to all the parties concerned. Excuse me. So what is the value of having that seat? Well, first of all, it assures input. It links the entities together. Good discussion can take place. If there are concerns, they get raised in the right context and in the right environment. All parties get their say. And when you boil it down, all of the entities involved here, the school board, city government, city administration, we're all serving the same stakeholders, and that is the citizens, the families, the children of Middletown. And we all want to put our best foot forward in doing that. We owe it to ourselves, we owe it to our kids, we owe it to the community. So, in summary, I'm asking you to vote no on this issue, this so-called text issue. A yes vote would accomplish nothing. Because I think we all realize we're still going to have to communicate. It's still our city. We still have the same interest. We want to work together to make our city the absolute best that it can be for all of us. And I'm going to wrap up with a couple points. Again, I have not heard anything that is halfway viable or sensible that would support removing this seat from your city council. I am going to go out on a limb here when I said I think there's a hidden agenda, and I feel pretty strongly about that. My tummy is telling me that somebody is interested in controlling you. That should never happen. Don't allow that to happen. Don't go down that road. Because if you do, you will harm greatly, excuse me, dry, your integrity. And if you do that, you will also damage your credibility. And people will not place as much value upon your input and your decisions as they do today. And you don't want that, folks. You know, we're all in this together. We want to make our community, as I said before, the absolute best that it could be. And it takes us all working together and not throwing darts at each other and not blaming, excuse me, playing the fault and blame game. So, again, I urge you to vote no on this, put it to bed, move forward, conduct business, and make our Middletown a better place to live. I'm going to wrap up here the same way I started the last time I addressed you, by using an old cliche that we used to hear a lot in the workplace. And that is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, folks, I want to emphasize very strongly this point. Planning Commission isn't broken, and it doesn't need fixed. It's a fine and viable organization, very close to my heart. Again, I spent 22 years in your organization. And a lot of good things were accomplished. I mentioned several of them to you the last time I spoke. I won't go over that again. You heard what I had to say. So I'm going to wrap up. And again, I want to strongly encourage you to vote no on this. Send it back to council where it came from. And if it were me, I would mark it DOA, dead on arrival. With that, I will conclude. Thank you for the opportunity to address you this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Continue the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak against the text amendment, please come forward.
Good evening, members of Planning Commission. Todd Moore, 1808 Sherm Drive, Middletown, and I acknowledge that I have been sworn in. Many of you have been my colleagues for a number of years. I spent 10 years sitting in those seats, and many of us have made very strong decisions together. I think we worked together with integrity and honesty, and I think that we've always tried to meet the requirements of the code. And I want to bring your attention to the code now. Tonight, you're being asked to remove a school board seat. I was in that seat where Tara sits now for 10 years as a member of the Middletown City School Board. And tonight, we're looking at making a change that I believe is entirely arbitrary and entirely wrong. If we look tonight, your job is to look at number 2 and 3 for review criteria. The proposed amendment is necessary or desirable because of changing economic conditions, social or other planning concepts. I want you to keep that in mind as you wrestle and deliberate tonight on whether or not to remove this seat. You will also be looked at number 3, the proposed amendment will promote the public health, safety, and general welfare. That is a key line that you will look at again as we look at the text of the 1959 original document that created the school board seat. I want to emphasize again that in my view, and I will argue, that this decision is arbitrary at best and dirty politics at worst. To understand where we're at now, we have to take a step back. We have to take a step back to October, maybe even earlier, when there was a barrage of comments made by Mr. Horn about the work on this planning commission. I made perhaps a fatal mistake of standing up for the integrity of the work that we were doing here. I don't know if any of you even know that I went to council to point out to Mr. Horn that we were not slow-walking cases, that we were looking at the law, that each of us were working with integrity, and each of us were committed to doing what was right for the city of Middletown and honoring the code itself. That put a target on my back. And then, if we fast forward to the comments, a barrage of comments that were made by Mr. Horn about Middletown City Schools, I'm not going to go through all of them. It's in the public record. I made the mistake of also raising questions about those comments. Again, believing that those comments had crossed the line. And then I also made the mistake, perhaps the fatal mistake, of challenging marijuana ordinances. I don't know if any of you are aware of that. I went to a council meeting and I asked for regulations to be placed on marijuana as it comes to Middletown, no different than any other regulatory practices that we'd have for even septic tanks in Middletown. A combination of those factors clearly did not make me very popular. And here we are today. One other instance I'd like to share with you is in October, Mr. Horn brings forward this comprehensive school finance agreement. We're going to go into that agreement in a moment. And while I'm going to argue tonight that it needs to be entirely stricken from the record, and I'll ask for legal to make a comment about that. But I want you to go back, if we could pull the text from 1959. Do we have the text from 1959? I don't know how many of you have spent some time in this text, but this is the document. If you look at the name there, we are at 1 Donham Plaza today. The name on that document right there is Mr. William Donham. Okay? 1959. Since 1959, there has never been a challenge about a school board member being a part of this body. Let me be clear, since 1959, not a single question in the public record about whether or not a school board member should not be a part of a planning commission decision. Now, what was the intention of that document? Why was that document even there? Why did the city council in 1959 create a school board seat? Well, I'll have you look at the language. To promote the general welfare, the public health, the general welfare, and the safety of the city of Middletown. That's one of the rationales that you're going to be looking at tonight. That was the rationale, the original rationale in 1959. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed since 1959. The rationale remains exactly the same as it was originally written. Now, let's take examples of why this was important to create the seat. The rationale that's in that document, if you look at the notes, and I think this is a fair reading, you make the call and see if you believe it's fair as well. The rationale in that decision was that the city manager would love to have more power, and others would like to tinker with the code and not create a seat. And that was challenged. It was challenged by Mr. Clark, who asked that perhaps that was the wrong direction. Perhaps planning principles would be best suited if they opened up a seat for future development for a member of Middletown City Schools to have a seat at this table and to take some of that power away from the city manager, take some of the politics out of the decision, and create a seat on the school board that would allow those who are going to be impacted, kids, families, and others that serve, that are in this city, the entity, as we're referred to by Mr. Horn, that's your original rationale. The health and safety, the welfare of kids and families. It's never changed, folks. It's never changed. It's the original rationale, and no one has questioned that rationale since that time. I want you to keep that in mind tonight as you make your decision. So, Mr. Horn then brings forward this comprehensive document, okay? Comprehensive School Compensation Agreement. And he makes a lot of this document. It was in the public record. And I believe, and I would argue, and I'll ask council tonight, whether or not this document should even be in the record at all. I would argue that it's completely arbitrarily placed in here. It has no relevance on your decision-making at all. There is nothing in this document that precludes, that has nothing to do with your decision whatsoever. This document is entirely arbitrarily interpreted by Mr. Horn. He doesn't, frankly, even understand the entire document himself. So he's placed it into the record to you, before you, as if it has some glaring rationale for removal of a seat, when in fact it does not. And I would like to have tonight, for the record, I would like legal counsel to tell us whether or not it has any real relevance in this decision or not.
So I'm serving as legal counsel to the extent you all need me, but I am not here to admit or strike evidence. It's really up to you all to weigh the relevance and credibility of any testimony and evidence that's given tonight. Just a couple of clarifying comments about that agreement, though. It doesn't address one way or another the school board appointee on Planning Commission, and Planning Commission does not make decisions based on tax incentives or any financing. So take that for what you will.
And I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Carly. The point I'm trying to make is this document is being, at the last couple meetings that we've had to interpret the thoughts of Mr. Horn. That's not our job. Our job is not to arbitrarily interpret Mr. Horn's misconception of a document. I mean, one of the fundamental rules of all planning commission bodies, and what you should do regardless, is we don't make decisions based on arbitrary findings. That's fundamental to the work that we do. And I believe that this document has no relevance on your decision whatsoever. And I think legal counsel has hinted at that, although we're not going to strike the document. I understand that. This document itself is being arbitrarily placed in the record, again, as if it has some type of standing in this type of case. It does not. It does not. So if you look at this document itself, one of the things that I think is very interesting for your discussion tonight, it talks here about the ability to create and retain jobs, employment opportunities, to promote economic development and improve the economic welfare of the city itself. So what we do under Ohio Revised Law, every school board's got one of these. Every district, look it up. Everyone has one of these agreements for a reason. In lieu of the taxation that would come to Middletown City Schools, we entered into this agreement. The city schools would say, we're going to waive part of that agreement or waive part of that taxation for the betterment of the city, to promote economic development, to promote jobs, to promote public good. The document itself talks about the intent here of pursuing economic development, okay? It goes and lays out provisions of where those things would be on a map. Not everything is included, okay, but what is agreed to. And that we agreed to cooperate under certain provisions. That's it. That's what this document does. Everyone has one. Every school district has one. But again, the point I'm trying to make is you cannot use it in an arbitrary manner to make some argument that Tara can't be there, that I can't be at the table, or that another school district member in the future would have a seat at the table. That's entirely wrong. It's entirely arbitrary. It shouldn't even be a part of the discussion. Now, what we're looking at here really is interpreting whatever grievance Mr. Horn has. I frankly don't know what it is. Maybe he thinks, as he said before, that Middletown City Schools, the kids and families were just a bunch of idiots. We're a bunch of losers. No one can read, no one can do anything. When you talk about that, you're talking about kids and families in this district. And I take it very personal. I do. I take it very personal as a personal attack on my 10 years working on the school board. And unlike Mr. Horn, I've served 3 terms by running for office, so I have been vetted for office. So what I'm asking you to do tonight is I'm asking you to look at the facts. Look at the facts before you. Look at the criteria before you tonight. Has anything really been presented that is a compelling reason to remove a seat that's been here since 1959, 66 years, 66 years now, without anything in the public record to even point to? We're acting like we have a problem. No one can even point the problem out. Okay, that's wrong. That's wrong. And I think it's going on across all sorts of discussions, not just here, it's going across the city. All sorts of discussions about things that are arbitrarily being decided. You've heard from my colleagues tonight, Mr. Bricky, 22 years. His service on here is untarnished. My tenure on here for 10 years, certainly I don't think any of you are going to find fault with it. I think I've served with integrity and tried to work with each of you with absolute integrity and tried to make decisions that do honor the city and that are good for the city. This is an arbitrarily driven thing. I don't know what to call it. When he said earlier that I feel, that says a lot because it comes from Paul's grievance. None of us know what that grievance is. None of us are really aware of it. Perhaps that he just doesn't think that Middletown City Schools is ever going to perform, so he wants to delete the entity. There's no deleting the entity, Paul. We're part of the same community. There's no way to disentangle the relationship. Here we are. There's been a lot made about whether or not a member could be vetted. I think Mr. Cash has brought this up. If I've been in this community and run 3 elections and thrown myself out as I'm doing now before folks, I would certainly think I've been vetted. We talked about one vote and what that would mean. I think all of you know that one vote certainly doesn't win the day in cases that are before you. I mean, Mr. Daniel and I have disagreed on a lot of cases over the years, and we still are honorable among each other, I believe, and we still worked well together after 10 years of doing work together. And what I'm saying is that there's just absolutely no reason to change a relationship after 66 years without being able to point to some underlying reason for removing a seat. In my view, this is, again, very much an arbitrary decision. It's one that you're going to have to answer tonight again. I'll have you point to the criteria about whether or not that there is any reason to promote the public health and safety and general welfare by having a seat at that table. I believe it still has value, as it was intended in 1959. I believe it still has value. The thing that is often talked about is that, Mr. Horn would say that, the kids are failing. If we could just get rid of the entity, look at all the tax money we'd have. There's a lot of misperceptions at play here. These are all wrong. These are all wrong. We don't have complete control over anything at Middletown City Schools. And in fact, my entire reason for running was to make Middletown City Schools a better place to educate your children. Not only for kids and families to have a better education, but certainly to promote the general welfare of our community, to make certain our business community thrives as well. So I'm going to conclude. The bottom line is, this is wrong. This is being done for all the wrong reasons, and you have a very important responsibility tonight to correct that record. I'm sure that Mr. Horn would be very eager to have this sent to City Council that he can play with this issue once again. And instead of doing hard work, here we've been arguing since October about whether or not a school board member should even be on a seat. It's wrong, guys. It's wrong. And I would ask that you do your jobs tonight and spend some time looking at that review criteria. There is no need to diminish a relationship where we're working on behalf of kids and families in this district. We work with Jackie Phillips. We work with our safety. We work with school resource officers. It's a 24-hour open door policy for Middletown City Schools. I know my colleagues, I know the superintendent and others. We always want to do what's right for kids and families and work with the city council. So whatever grievance, whatever misunderstanding is taking place, it's certainly not because there's not an open door policy or that we're not fully committed to working with city council. It needs to end. Whatever grievance we have needs to stop. It serves no purpose for Middletown. It's wrong. So I'm going to ask you tonight to unanimously reject this text amendment. It's bad for Middletown. It's bad for kids and families. It's arbitrary, and it's completely the wrong thing to do. Any questions from me? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak against the text amendment? If so, please come forward. All right, seeing no one, I will close the public hearing, move to deliberation.
Well,
I-
here, go ahead, sorry.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. I want to clarify a few things that are on the meeting minutes.
Please.
So in the meeting minutes, I believe I said clearly that the school board, with their workforce development, is doing an outstanding job working with the Chamber of Commerce. I also, in the meeting minutes from December, said that Mr. Moore is an outstanding part of the Planning Commission, and that if this actually gets through, I encouraged him from the beginning of this to apply, and there would be no issue at all on appointing him to that. At no time, and you can check the meeting minutes, which is all being recorded, that I ever used the word idiot, moron, or stupid. So I don't mind you quoting me, but let's quote it right. And finally, all the speeches that were given tonight, I hope you bring them, to City Council, because there'll be another public hearing for that. Again, I did not say vote for this. I said vote. If you want to vote no, please do. If you want to vote yes, please do. If you want to vote yes with addenda, please do. But you're not making a decision tonight. You're giving us advice as your mission that you volunteered for and you were appointed, be it through City Council or through the school district. So no one is making a decision tonight and asking Tara to leave. That is not the case. What we're asking you to do is, it's been 60 days, send it to City Council, and then let City Council, as Mr. Amberger said in the meeting notes, and let City Council show their true colors. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. I would just like to say that for myself, my vote is very clear. I am strongly against this, and I will keep it short and say for two reasons. First being, based off of the review criteria, I have not seen any evidence presented that deems, in my mind, worthy of seeing the change. And secondly, purely in looking at the relationship between the city and the schools, I appreciate the testimony we've heard from those in the community who have been a part of that relationship and building it. For Middletown as a community to thrive, we need a strong city government and we need strong schools. Open communication and strong collaboration is key, and it doesn't seem wise to me at this time to be closing off modes of communication, especially when there does not appear to have been previously any real cause to do so. So I will be voting no tonight.
I'm just going to reiterate what I said in the first meeting. I think that having different connections between the parts of the community and the boards and commissions is a good thing. I myself am the Planning Commission's appointee to the Board of Zoning Appeals, so I think it would be a little ironic for me to vote against having an appointee from a different board onto this board.
Well, I don't think there's any agenda here by council, since this is council that's requesting this text amendment, correct, Mr. Horn? I don't know that there's any agenda, but the real crux, I think, is in 1959, there was a reason that the school board was to be represented on Planning Commission. The only purpose that I see that Mr. Horn's been able to tell us for this request for a text amendment is this comprehensive school compensation agreement, which I have to agree, I don't think has any bearing whatsoever on the relationship between
other than financially through tax incremental financing, but I surely have not seen anything other than just a request. You know, back then, Bill Donham and the commission at that point in time, city commission, felt that this was a valuable change to have a school board member on the planning commission. I haven't seen it. Mr. Horn indicated in October or December, I wasn't here in January, that this way the city can vet the member, that seventh member to the planning commission. But the vetting was simply to ensure that a person is a resident of, or an applicant is a resident of the city of Middletown. And beyond that, there was, as far as I recall from that meeting, there was no further vetting done. I would assume a basic criminal background check would probably be done, but I don't even know if that was stated. But I just don't see, I can't see that the review criteria 12, 2601, 2, and 3, that's a hurdle that I can't see has been overcome. I'll be voting against it.
Do you have any other comments from the board?
You know, over the last several years, I've been on this particular commission, and I haven't agreed with everybody all the time. You know, so I haven't agreed with Todd all the time, but I never did have a feeling he had an agenda trying to move something in favor of the school board or anything along those lines. I do agree that everybody should be vetted on the same standards, and you know, I would support asking the school board to submit their candidate, you know, several months ahead of time, so that the city can vet them under the same process that they use to vet all the rest of us. But I will also be voting against. But I would welcome any addendum on vetting.
I'm personally not sure that an addendum on vetting is needed. I think that the school board itself is vetted enough by the citizens of Middletown to not require an additional step.
I would think this takes a motion. I would move that the text amendment that's being requested be denied.
I'll second that.
Just to be clear, if we vote, a yes vote to this motion is saying no to the amendment. Is that correct?
Yeah, you can say yes to deny or something like that.
Okay, thank you.
If you'd like to clarify.
Sure. Just wanted to, when you get too many double negatives, sometimes, you know, I want to make sure we're all on the same page.
All right. Mr. Mintel?
Yes to deny.
Mr. Cash?
Yes to deny.
Mr. Shamlin?
No.
To approve.
Okay. Mr. Daniel?
Yes to deny.
Mr. Parsons?
Yes.
Ms. Ramsey? I just want to clarify how you two voted. You want to approve the text amendment, and you want to deny.
I want to deny the text amendment.
So yes to deny.
Correct.
Okay.
All right. Continuing with old new business, item B is a map amendment, zone change, and preliminary development plan. You take over, please.
All right, this is a request by Jonathan Woker of McBride Dale Clarion on behalf of Troutman Dom's Commercial Real Estate for an approval of a map amendment and preliminary development plan for a Wawa convenience store with food service and fuel sales to be constructed on the parcel listed. The parcel is a total of 1.767 acres. With the proposal, the applicant requests waivers listed, and this will require city council approval for the map, the zone change and preliminary development plan. For property background, the subject parcel is the former home to a CVS pharmacy. The building on the property that is not currently in use was built in 2008. It has a total of 13,145 square feet, according to the Warren County Auditor's website. And the last sale date of the property was in September of 2020 for a purchase price of over $3 million. The subject property is zoned BCH. The purpose of the BCH subdistrict is to create an urban mixed-use core that serves as the vibrant hub of the BC district, encourage signature architecture and landscaping treatment, and an urban pedestrian scale environment through building height and building and parking lot placement and design. For the staff analysis, the applicant proposes a planned unit development that will feature a Wawa convenience store with a building footprint of over 6,000 square feet with a food service drive-up pickup window. There will not be an option to order food in the pickup lane. The fuel sales will include 6 double-sided fuel dispenser islands with a canopy. The business will be in operation 24 hours a day with approximately 40 employees. The driveways will remain in the same location as the existing driveways currently on the site. Per the Middletown Development Code, Chapter 1204-3, convenience stores is a permitted use in the BCH zoning district as it is today. And you can see the definition of a convenience store. Also, per the Middletown Development Code table 1204-3, retail fuel sales is a prohibited use in the BCH zoning district. And you can also see the definition of a retail fuel sale use type. As for this, the applicant requests a waiver from Middletown Development Code table 1204-3 to allow for a use in the planned development district that is prohibited in the current zoning district, retail fuel sales. I want to spend a little time with the planned development zoning regulations here. So per the Middletown Development Code, Chapter 1204, Part 7, Part B, Part 15, the purpose of the planned development district is to provide for an opportunity for creative and flexible land development where a base zoning district will not accommodate the proposed development, but where such development will further the purpose of this code and the goals and policies of the master plan. The planned development district is designed to allow for deviations from certain zoning standards that will otherwise apply, if not contrary to the general spirit and intent of this code. The location, applicability, and review procedure is as follows. A planned development district may be established in any area of the city following review and approval of the plans in accordance with Section 122604 with all other applicable sections of this code. The minimum site area for a planned development application shall be 5 acres, unless the applicant can demonstrate that the proposed project is of such a unique situation as to warrant review as a planned development rather than through a zoning map amendment process or as a variance. The planned development process should not be used to address a non-conforming situation for a lot that will be used for a single building and/or use where the use is permitted, but where such use does not comply with other applicable standards. Such situations should first be considered for a variance application. The applicant requests a waiver from Middletown Development Code, Chapter 1204, Part 7, Part B, Part 15, related to the size of the planned development district. The proposed planned development will be a total of 1.767 acres. As for site development standards, the minimum lot area is actually 5 acres, so they're requesting a waiver from the minimum lot area, which is about a 140,000 square foot smaller footprint than the required site development, or the minimum lot area size, I should say. For accessory uses and structures, Chapter 1230 defines a drive-through facility as an establishment that encourages or permits customers to receive services or obtain goods while remaining in their motor vehicles. And as you can see in Table 120601, Drive-through facilities are only permitted in the, oh gosh. Oh, sorry. Okay, I'm back. All right, drive-through facilities are conditional use if the drive-through windows, drive-through signage, or any audio equipment is located in the front yard in the BCH subdistrict. So the drive-through is located in the front yard, I believe. According to the, I don't remember the site plan off my head. But it is a corner lot, so there are two front yards, so it would be falling in the front yard, according to how the lot is defined. So the applicant is requesting a waiver from that conditional use application to allow for that drive-through to be facing Union Road. As for lighting, they submitted, the applicant submitted a site plan, or a lighting plan, excuse me, and it does appear to meet the criteria. For landscape and buffering, per the Middletown Development Code, all development in a planned development shall be subject to the standards of this chapter unless otherwise modified through the planned development review and approval process. And you can see also the requirements for pedestrian amenities that Mr. Mentel was referencing earlier. So a site or a landscaping plan would just need to be submitted. And then also in landscaping and buffering, the large waste receptacles must be buffered with a variety of options, such as integration into the building design, which the applicant has chosen. For parking, per the Middletown Development Code, Chapter 12, 1802, Part B, the requirements of this chapter shall apply to all new development where there is construction of a new structure or establishment of a new land use. Per table 1218-1, convenience store use has a parking space requirement of 1 space per 300 square feet of floor area with a minimum of 5 spaces. Retail fuel sales use has a parking space requirement of 1 space per 300 square feet of indoor floor area, plus 1 space per fuel pump or service bay. Per the Middletown Development Code, Chapter 121805, a restaurant with a drive-through facility is required to have a minimum of 6 stacking spaces from the first pickup window that is closest to the drive-through or order box, and they're asking for a variance to decrease that to 3 stacking spaces. The signage does appear to meet the development code standards, so they're not asking for any waivers on that. And then per the Middletown Development Code, Table 1226-1, public notice was published for at least 30 days, and mailed notice was provided to all property owners within 200 feet of the subject property at least 14 days before the initial public hearing. Since date, 2 public comments have been received at this time. Before we get to those, I want to go over the other department comments. City management has recommended denial. The acreage is too small to meet the planned development acreage criteria. It is utilization of the planned development district to spot zone the property to allow for a use that is prohibited in the current zoning district. The comprehensive plan calls for other uses envisioned for the property. As for community economic development, the main concern is that the retail fuel sales is not only a prohibited use, but the potential for oversaturation of retail fuel establishments in the vicinity of the proposed site. Currently, there is a BP gas station on the northeast intersection of Commerce and State Route 122, approximately 650 feet from the subject property. Another gas station would have a negative impact on the future development and the future use of that subdistrict. And then Public Works and Engineering also called out a Tier 2 traffic study per the city's Manual of Design for Public Improvements would be required. And then some comments on the utility plan and boundary survey. Here's public comment number 1. This was received after a news article went out about the proposed development. And this was included in your staff packet. This is public comment number 2. I believe this one was forwarded to you via email as I received it after the staff packet went out. And then getting into the Middletown comprehensive plan, the future land use map indicates the property in question is located in the employment mixed use land use category, which is defined as primarily office, high-tech industrial, medical, and other similar uses, with secondary uses including commercial, service, and residential. And then a little bit further into the comprehensive plan, there are development opportunity areas identified. And this subject property does fall into the East End Renaissance Development Opportunity Area, which means the East End Renaissance Development Opportunity Area is a regional business and living center that is an economically and environmentally sustainable mixed-use balance of office, medical office, service, general retail, residences, and hospitality. It should be developed as a landscape master planned business park with unique amenities such as common open space, trails, and business support uses. The available jobs in this area shall provide diverse employment opportunities, attracting new visitors and residents to the city. So you can see that the business park, the idea of having larger developments with that site development standards being 5 acres being the desired minimum lot area. So furthermore, the future land use identified in the development opportunity area is explained as employment mixed use and single family residential are the land use designations that cover the East End Renaissance Development Opportunity Area in recognition of the existing and planned land use pattern. The land use serves as the foundation for regional economic growth and development opportunities, while encouraging ancillary and support uses that serve the region. And the subject parcel is not located in that special interest area. So before you is the application for the preliminary development plan and map amendment, the letter of intent from the applicant, the proposed floor plan, proposed building elevations, proposed fuel canopy and trash compound, the property in its current conditions, the zoning map, and then based on the staff report provided, the staff recommends denial of the preliminary development plan and map amendment for a Wawa convenience store with food service and fuel sales to be constructed at 3445 Union Road. And before I show you guys your review criteria, I want to go over a couple things that were said at the last meeting. The base standards of this zone and how they play into a preliminary development plan, they do apply. That's where waivers do come into play. It is an opportunity to provide a creative and flexible land development where base zoning district will not accommodate the proposed development and allow for deviations from certain zoning standards. So that's where those waivers are being requested. When waivers are not requested, variances and conditional uses, etc., would still need to be applied for if needed. The applicant could have pursued a use variance, as you guys saw in the planned development district zoning regulations, or a map amendment. However, the review criteria for a use variance is all-encompassing. So that is meaning each criterion must be met for approval of a use variance. One criteria of the use variance includes the property cannot be put to any economically viable use under any of the permitted uses in the subject zoning district. So that means no other option is available for that site to meet that use review criteria. There is not a bordering zoning district directly adjacent to this property whose boundaries can be amended to include the subject property. The only BC district that allows retail fuel sales, which is where the BP gas station is located, is right off the highway. And then conditional uses are not allowed. They are reviewed, and if meeting the review criteria, they are approved by Planning Commission. What warrants a plan development district other than the base zoning, I'm not sure. other than the base zoning not permitting the full fuel use. And then that will conclude my staff report. And there's your plan review criteria.
All right, well then, at this time, let's see, is there any deliberation first? Yes.
We just approved the final planning for the Sheets gas station. Now, that's not mentioned here. I know it doesn't exist, but assuming that that's built, am I correct? It'll be right across Union Road.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. That's all.
Personally, I don't feel as if there there is an oversaturation of gas in the immediate area already. Just down the street, we've got the Kroger and the Meijer. Even further down the street, a little bit into town, there is a BP. There are those two new gas stations by the Sunoco. I can't remember what they're called. And the benefit of where those gas stations are is that they actually bring people into town rather than being just a pit stop off of the highway to continue back on. So I don't think that it's necessary for it to be there.
Do we have any other deliberation before we move into public hearing? At this time, then, I'd like to move into public hearing. Those wishing to speak in favor, please come forward and identify yourself.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Woker. I'm a planner with McBride Dale Clarion. I'm representing Trotman Doms on this application. Appreciate your time. I know it's been a long evening. As was mentioned, we were here a month ago, got a 3-to-1 vote, which was not enough to move forward, 3-to-1 in favor. So we're hoping that tonight we're able to get the 4 votes that we need so that we can move on to City Council. Some of you have seen this presentation before, so bear with me. I'll do my best to move it along. We are asking for a zone change. I will note that Eric Doms is here with Trotman Doms. He's likely to speak after me. I also have a representative from the Wawa engineering team who may also have some information to share with you. As mentioned, we are requesting a zone change to PD. We happen to have a difference of opinion with staff on how the PD is written in your code, and I'll present, the counter argument to that. And I would ask you to kind of keep an open mind as you look at the information that's presented. So on this slide, I've presented our development team. I think it's important to note that what's there today is a 1.8 acre parcel, right? And so that is a vacant CVS that's been vacant for some time. And what we're asking to do is get a zone change to PD, which will allow us to redevelop that property. We are asking for a Wawa convenience store with fuel sales as was presented. So I'll go through our slides and then we'll answer questions. So here's our plan. As you can see, this is the vacant CVS location. Kind of a unique property. We have 3 frontages, right? So we are landlocked by the streets. To the north is Highway 122. On the right side to the east is Union Road. And then there's a street to the west that divides this property from Kettering Health. So Kettering Health developments to the west, there's a vacant property to the south. That also is not 5 acres. So unfortunately, it sounds like we fall into a category where we have to be 5 acres but can't be 5 acres. So I'm not sure how we get out of that box. And part of the solution is to ask for a PD. And so we believe that that's a realistic position for us to take. This is another view of the development. I think it's important to look at our access points here. As I go through this, you'll see that our proposed driveways are in the same position as the existing driveways. So I know access is key, especially along this corridor, and we're going to utilize the same position location as the existing CVS driveways. This is a survey of the property. We will coordinate with the city administration. I know there were some comments about needing additional information, and we will definitely provide that as we move forward. So some views of this. This is looking east. As you approach the development, you can see it kind of sits up. I think it's important to, from this view, you can see that we're sharing a right-in, right-out on that street between us and the Kettering Health. You can also see from this view the drive-through. To the right, you can barely see the median that's in the street. So there's a median that's in Highway 122 that controls traffic. This is a view looking the other way. So now we're sitting in the intersection and we're looking west. You can see the CVS building that sits up on the hill a little bit from this direction. And then this is a view from the street dividing Kettering Health and CVS. Again, you can see the existing drive-through, and this is the driveway where Wawa would propose to have access as well. And you kind of look straight across there, and you can see the other driveway that would be on Union Road. And then here's a view from Union Road. So we're looking towards the intersection. There's a median in Union Road. There will be one in the future. As you may know, the larger Middletown Event Center had a pretty substantial traffic impact study and road improvement plans. And this will be modified but still result in a median that will be there. So our driveway will be in the same location that you see there and will basically represent a right-in, right-out driveway. So here's a view of, again, of the existing site. Here's our plan. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. Ms. Fetter's already talked about a lot of the details. It's a 6,300 square foot store. You can see the dumpster in the lower left corner. I mentioned the driveways. Again, right in, right out access from Highway 122, right in, right out access on Union Road. We will have electric vehicle charging positions on the west side. So those are the areas. Yeah, hey, there we go. Okay. Generally right here, okay? And Wawa works with Tesla to determine the timing of that. So we've designed where those will be, and we're designating certain spaces, and we'll provide the infrastructure for that as part of the initial design. So I think EV is coming our way, and we're planning for that. The fuel tanks are in the north corner of the development. The canopy is in front. This will be for 6 dispenser islands. This is for auto canopy or auto fueling, not for semi-trucks, and we're not bringing trucks through this for our development. And then you can see also there's a pickup window that's located on the east side here. So this is where the pickup window will be located, and we've got a bypass lane that will provide that. And then we also have an island that will have landscaping and a decorative fence that will screen that pickup window. And you know, the pickup window is not typical. I think Ms. Fetter's mentioned that a little bit. We will not have a menu board or a speaker system. So the Sheets development that was before you earlier this evening had a speaker system, and you would drive up. This is a different approach. It's an on-demand ordering, so you would order through the app, and you would come and pick up your food when it's ready. So they would give you a designated time, and you know when it's available. So that significantly reduces the amount of stacking that's required. It's a different type of approach. Having said that, we do have the bypass lane as needed if someone pulls in there by mistake. But you know, it is a different design, and we think that the site layout with our landscaping and fencing provide that. Wawa actually calls it a fly-through service. So you know, it's part of their overall identity to be convenient with their customers. So let me talk a little bit about Wawa. It's new to me. It might be new to you, and I did provide some of this information in your submittal packet. Again, bear with me. I know some of you have heard this more than once, but I think it's worth repeating. So Wawa is new to the market. You may have heard they're developing along the region. There should be a new store opening in Liberty Township very soon. We believe that this corridor and this location can support this top of the market type of convenience store like Wawa. Wawa is not typical in that it has a very strong reputation for food, destination, and made-to-order menu items, which really does separate itself from the type of convenience stores that I'm used to living in Ohio. It's a different type of food destination. This is a little bit about the history. It's a family business that was started. They initially started as a dairy and then grew into a food market. Didn't start selling fuel until the late 1990s, and by that time they had a pretty strong reputation for their hoagie sandwiches and their food sales. They now have more than 1,000 stores, primarily in the mid-Atlantic states. You can see the map on there: Pennsylvania, Delaware, Virginia, Maryland. They also have a number in Florida, and they are expanding into the Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana market pretty strong. This slide talks a little bit about Wawa's community approach to things. They have a strong reputation to support communities. They make donations to local charities and activities, to food banks, provide emergency services, food aid. They support first responders. They also have a pretty strong following. Again, they are a little different than the other convenience stores. You can see on these slides some images. It's common to have weddings and birthday parties at the Wawa stores. They do catering, again, emphasizing their food component. It's common to ship meals to overseas soldiers and so on because they're so much a fan of that. And then it's a little hard to see, but even fans that have tattoos of Wawa, and just kind of demonstrates the commitment to that. And if you'll bear with me, I want to also, they try to have a. There's 3 copies there. Hold on. They try to customize their approaches, and what I'm handing you is a promotion in the Philadelphia market from Kyle Schwarber and the Schwarber Fest and Schwarber Bombs. And, they really try to customize the approach to the market and becomes very, very much a following for their customers. And I usually don't spend that much time talking about convenience stores and the background of that, but this is a little bit of a unique situation in my opinion. I'll move through these a little faster. You have this in your material. This summarizes the sales that they have. Lots of coffee, donuts, hoagies, cold beverages. This project would be about a $7 million investment. We're talking about 40 employees. On the right side of that slide, it just summarized some of the charitable giving. So in the last 10 years, they've donated more than $150 million to various charities, and some of those are listed, but also they focus on providing local charities as well. So food is a major part of the business. They're famous for the hoagies. They're often called a restaurant with fuel sales. They sell hoagies and sandwiches and coffee and smoothies and salads and burgers and chicken sandwiches, breakfast sandwiches, burritos, paninis, wraps, pizza, frozen and cold drinks, soups, baked goods, a whole wide variety of foods made to order, so you can customize those items that I just listed, and you can see that here. There will be fuel, so there will be fuel sales at the north end of the site as shown on the plan. They do have pickup options as well, so in addition to the pickup window, they have a pretty sophisticated app so customers can order in advance. They also have the catering that I talked about, and then they coordinate with home delivery, so the DoorDash and others, which, believe it or not, is pretty important to the customers that they're able to do that. So that's some background on them, on Wawa. These are the elevations. This will be a quality building with a combination of brick. There will be composite panels. There will also be stucco, and you can see that it has finishes on all 4 sides. I do apologize. The plan that I submitted, the previous one, did not show the drive pickup window, and so that is shown on this elevation here. So the pickup window is shown, and that would face Union. And as Ms. Fetter mentioned in her report, we really have three fronts. So we are, for circulation reasons, believe that it makes sense to have it as shown on the plan. These are some renderings. These are generic, not site-specific, but do show the layout that represents this design. And I think you can see that it's a well-designed building that has finishes that are high quality. This is actually the rear of the store, so there would be a rear entrance as well, and that. I include the floor plan primarily to emphasize the food service component of it. So there's about almost 20%, 1,160 square feet of this store, the orange area here. This is all food service, and that doesn't count the checkout area or anything else. So, it really does have high level of food service and restaurant quality to it. This is the canopy on the one side. Will be a pitched roof canopy. There will be stone column bases. It's a very narrow profile, so if you go to your gas stations on a regular basis, a lot of times those are pretty thick fascia panels. These are very low profile, and it really creates a unique design. On the other side of the slide shows the trash enclosure, masonry building, matches the store, has metal gates, more than 8 feet tall. So, not skimping on those design elements and making sure that functions appropriately. And then the purpose of this slide is to just kind of show a little bit of context. We have obtained the traffic improvement plans for the event center and incorporated those on our plans. So those plans can happen without impacting our site development. We will do a traffic impact study per the city requirements, and we intend to do that as part of the final development plan, hopefully, after approval from the city. This is a utility plan. Zoom in a little bit. Not surprisingly, there's a CVS vacant store there, so we have water and sewer there. We would connect to those services. We would also connect to the stormwater outlet. We intend to have an underground detention area that's shown here in this dashed line on the west side of the site. So we've got a utility plan and obviously intend to meet all standards of the city. This is a grading plan. It's not going to be a lot of grading, frankly. Some transition grading as you approach the front and to the west. But the site's basically a pad site because there's a 1.8 acre vacant CVS there. And then we did submit a lighting plan. It's not possible to read this plan in a public meeting, but I think the important thing is to note that we acknowledge lighting is important for this type of use. We'll have cutoff fixtures, which means light will be directed down, LED fixtures, high efficiency, and intend to meet your city codes. I believe we do that now, but we would work with the city on any of those issues. So I want to address some of the comments or points made by the staff report. We believe that this is an appropriate use for this property and that the proposed PD Plan Development District is the appropriate zoning. Your destination, Middletown, which is the comprehensive plan, designates this site for employment mixed use. And as you see in the corner there, we've listed what that category says. It's one sentence with a couple commas in it, and it says primarily office, high-tech, industrial, medical, and similar uses with secondary uses that include commercial, service, and residential. We feel that we are that secondary use with commercial and service. We feel that a high-tech industrial or an office or even a medical use is unlikely on this 1.8 acre parcel. And we think that this redevelopment is what's going to occur here. I will state the current owner is receiving rent payments from CVS and will continue to do that for the life of the lease, which goes on for a substantial time period. So they have little incentive to redevelop that property. They're perfectly happy to sit and collect the rent that is being paid for the vacant CVS. My client is able to purchase that property if approved by the city, which will then necessitate a redevelopment. And in my opinion, it's unlikely to see a lot of redevelopment of that property unless you have a use similar to what we're proposing, like a Wawa, that can pay what it will take to buy that property and to offset that ongoing lease payment that is an incentive for our current owner. So we think that we are consistent with the land use plan, that we are going to provide that secondary commercial and service use, and particularly when you look at this parcel and try and apply the other primary uses, that it's not practical for this location. It's suitable for the commercial service uses that are talking about. We would be replacing a retail use, so we're going from a vacant retail to the convenience food service use that we're talking about. And again, we provide approximately 40 jobs. So while may not be the high volume job number that the city is looking for the district as a whole, we think that 40 jobs on this 1.8 acres is a pretty substantial investment there. Also, this will provide high quality food for the employees and the visitors of this district. So, the existing office, the existing medical services, we've talked to Kettering Health. They're aware of our plans. They've indicated to us that they support this use and feel that this food option will be good for their employees and their customers, and feel that this would be a complementary use to what will be going there. And so again, we believe that it's appropriate land use. Also, when you look at the scale of the Middletown Event Center that's across the street to the east, we feel that this will be a complementary service use to what's coming to that property. So substantial event center, a large number of multifamily developments. We're going to be able to provide food, gas, convenience items to customers, residents, employees for that future development. And with due respect, I don't agree that we have an overabundance of gas in this location. There is a BP. It's about 650 feet to the west of us. I've shown that as fuel on this plan on the north side. Highway 122 is a little bit different. This is a median road. So the way convenience businesses work is you kind of go with the traffic flow, right? So my guess is that a high volume of the customers that BP gets are westbound customers, right? So they're headed into town because they're on that side of the road. And similarly, I expect that we'll get a high volume of eastbound customers as well. And, the fact that we can operate in a situation where we have two right-in, right-out driveways, I think really drives home that point. But when you look at the overabundance of fuel, I couldn't find another fuel until you get to the Town Boulevard Kroger Fuel Center, which, is not in this area and definitely not this. Obviously, you just approved the sheets for the property across the street. But I think that also kind of is interesting when you look at the PD as a whole, right? So we happen to have my reading of the PD, and I don't work here, but this is how I read the code, is that I'm getting a zone change to PD, right? And so what are permitted uses? Item 6 there says the uses allowed in the PD are the uses that are approved by the city. You can approve those uses. And so I am walking a fine line here because I'm asking you to approve waivers if you think I need them. But the way I understand them is that you're approving a PD, well, city council theoretically is approving a PD and the uses that are proposed. So setbacks will be as approved by the plan. Drive-through, drive-up, pickup window as approved by the plan. And up until the zone map did not show the PD overlay until this most recent presentation. If you look on your zoning map, or at least as of last month, it only designated the property for the event center as BHC. It didn't. I couldn't find any references on the zoning map to a PD anywhere. The staff's presentation has altered that, but regardless, you know, when they got a PD rezoning, they changed it to, you know, BH to the Planned Development District. So, like I said, I'm walking a fine line there. If we need the waivers, that's what we're asking for. But we believe the right thing to do is present to the city a plan for this use and let you decide if this is appropriate for this location. We are requesting, we do recognize that it's less than 5 acres. I don't feel that a use variance or that multiple conditional uses and then development standards variances would have been the right way to go. I think that given that we've got a PED across the street and the size of this property, you have that. Interestingly, the parcel to the south of us, it doesn't meet 5 acres either. So, you know, I don't know what they're gonna do or how they can develop, but that's where we are. So we think that we've presented a plan that is reasonable, and we think given the context of this area that the proposed Wawa is appropriate for this location. So I'm going to wrap up, and I appreciate you being patient. I know you've had to listen to a lot of people tonight, so I'm hoping that you'll still listen to me. We've looked at the criteria for a preliminary development plan and a zone map amendment, and I think if you look at the criteria in section 1226.04 D1, that you can find that this is an appropriate use and that it should be approved, that we are consistent with the comp plan, and we are that secondary commercial and service use, and that it's a necessary and desirable use based on existing and changing conditions. You know, if this isn't a changing condition, I don't know what is. So there's a lot of conditions that are changing here. We think that the Wawa will not be detrimental to current or future uses, and in fact, we think we're going to be complementary, that our neighbor, Kettering Health, is supportive of this. We think we will promote the general welfare by redeveloping a difficult vacant site that's likely to stay empty without some further action. And we think that access will use the existing driveways and will not create road impacts that are unanticipated. So we will do the traffic study, but we anticipate that given our location design and the surrounding traffic that it'll be suitable for that situation. It's a multi-million-dollar project that we think will bring jobs and redevelopment and replace a vacant retail use. We ask for your support and your vote for yes. That's all I have. I can answer questions or I can have our other team speak. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for him at this time?
Thank you.
All right, moving forward, is there anyone else who would wish to speak in favor? If so, please come forward and identify yourself.
Hi, good evening. Eric Doms, Troutman Doms Commercial Real Estate, 2211 North Elston, Chicago, Illinois. Thank you all for your time tonight. I do not have a presentation, but thought it important to show up and to see if anybody had any questions of myself. I think it was a very thorough and comprehensive presentation, so I'm not going to reiterate anything that Jonathan had said, only to say that we are the contract purchaser of the property. The existing CVS lease has 14 more years on it. It is unlikely to be redeveloped within that time if this doesn't go through, is my belief. The landlord is an absentee landlord that lives out of the country. He gets no benefit from the lease payments, which go directly to the lender. So he's very unmotivated to do much. Fortunately, we have a connection and have the property under contract. So that is the situation. Appreciate your time, and I'm here to answer, along with the rest of the team here, any questions that you guys might have. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Patrick Warnament. I work for Wawa. Our corporate address is 260 West Baltimore Pike, Wawa, Pennsylvania 19063, but I live in Westchester, Ohio. A little more background on the company. It's the Wood family started this in the Philadelphia area in 1803, I believe it was, as an iron foundry. And in the early part of the 1800s, Abraham Lincoln actually worked as a debt collector for Wawa, which is pretty neat. We've got a couple handwritten letters from him at our corporate headquarters before he moved on to bigger and better things. Then the Wood family eventually got into dairy. Early 1900s up to the 1960s was basically a dairy, home deliveries with milk and such. And then, milk home deliveries kind of went away, and they needed a way to keep the company going, so they opened a food mart. So it was basically a small grocery store from the 1960s to the 1990s, and then we started selling fuel. So the food component of the business is a very big deal. Jonathan mentioned the 40 jobs. We are an ESOP, so folks that work there can have stock in the company, health insurance, every good benefits, plenty of room to grow with the company. If it tells you anything, when we have recognitions, they don't start until you hit 35 years, because if they went lower than that, they'd go on for eternities. So folks tend to stay, I guess is the point. In the convenience store industry in the United States, a typical employee has less than 1 year. With their employer, Wawa, it's 7+ years. So it is a very good company, lots of room for upward mobility, tuition assistance, all that kind of stuff. And with the number of stores that we're building in the region, plenty of room to, over time, grow into management and really make a career out of it. I think the size of the site is what it is. There's no getting around it. It's 1.8 acres. Nobody can change that. So that kind of is what it is, and I think 40 jobs on 1.8 acres is about as good as you could possibly get. The high-tech industrial and office, that stuff doesn't fit on 1.8 acres. So I think we're about as good of a use as you could hope for. Eric and Jonathan both mentioned the CVS lease, and the circumstances there are what they are. I don't think, whether it's us or whoever, I don't think anybody wants a vacant building sitting there for 14 years. We are very big into charity. Like Jonathan mentioned, the Wawa Foundation has donated about $160 million in the last 10 years. And we've got the big national partners that we put up there with the Red Cross and the USO and folks like that. But there's a lot of nonprofits, schools, things like that that are, the foundation is separate. People submit applications, and the applications are reviewed, and they, I think last year we donated, don't hold me to this exact number, something around $15 million, so, in 1 year. So that is a big deal. The proximity to the hospitals is great. The Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, we've got an especially close relationship with. We're not just financial donations, but, there's a Wawa volunteer there every day, the entire year, with a care cart that they push around the hospital and give food, drinks, whatever, to parents of children who are hospitalized. So that's a really neat thing, and there's all kinds of news articles about, they call it CHOP, Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, and Wawa, and the really unique relationship there. I think we fit in well here, I really do. Our building looks very nice. We've designed it in a way that, we don't get a lot of pushback on materials and such, because we use very nice building materials. Jonathan mentioned Tesla. We're the biggest Tesla charging partner in the whole United States, with somewhere between 150 and 200 of our stores out of over 1,000 actually have the units installed. So the way that works is when they determine that they need to put chargers at this site, they come back in here with their own application, but we set it all up for them. And it's not just Tesla. It was Tesla exclusively, but we got a couple other charging partners now as well. So I don't think I've got much else to offer here, but certainly glad to answer any questions about the company or how we operate. We don't franchise at all, so this is owned and operated by Wawa. We'll be here for a long time. It's maybe a little over $7 million investment, 40 jobs, and like I say, the CVS situation just kind of is what it is. So, if you look across the state, the country, these drugstores are closing like crazy. And, some of them were paying really high rent dollars. So getting them out of these leases is tough. Convenience stores tend to pay higher rent than most other types of users. So, you know, if it's fast food, whatever it might be, yeah, we're right up there at the top of the list as far as retail goes with rent payments, so that's the reason why we're able to make the whole situation with CVS work. So I think that's about all I've got. Thank you all.
If there's anyone else wishing to speak in favor, please come down to the podium. All right, seeing no one, I will now move. If there's anyone wishing to speak against, you may come forward. All right, seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. Oh, sorry.
I missed one thing, I apologize. Jonathan passed out some information there. In 2022, I should have mentioned this, I apologize. In June and July every year, we have something we call Hoagie Fest, which is like discounted hoagies for summertime, and we brought Middletown's own Kyle Schwarber on as a partner in 2022, so they affectionately call it Schwarber Fest now, and he's you know, good partner for promotions and such, and obviously star player for the Phillies, but that's why we passed that out to you, because a little local connection there.
Certainly. Thank you. All right, I'd like to move us to deliberations.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. You guys been sitting for 2 hours. Can we take a 10-minute break?
That seems fair to me. Let's take a quick moment then. If you need to take some time, get up, take a bio break, drink of water. That seems fair.
Okay.
You guys didn't happen to bring any of those hoagies tonight, did you? Fair enough, fair enough. I can respect that. Okay.
Sitting back here, ready to fall asleep. I'm gonna tell her to go back and put it back.
Oh, you brought her here?
Oh, yeah, she's sitting right there in that coat. Well, she came to it.
I guess you're on the couch tonight.
Well, she is. Guess where she sleeps. That's another story. But she came to one of the Board of Zoning Appeals meetings, and they generally don't last like this. And of course, that text amendment I knew that was going to be.
These don't last like this either.
Huh?
These don't last
No.
like this either.
No.
The game is about ready to leave.
Are they always this long?
No.
No. Okay. No. I don't think you have.
Usually less than an hour. As long as it's nothing we're actually debating.
Logistics.
Occasionally they have one of the attorneys, you know, give a kind of a class as to what you're allowed to do and all that sort of thing. So eventually they'll get around to it again.
Well, I know Board of Zoning Appeals. Claire asked if the board wanted, because they're all brand new, well, except for me. Who else is on there? Ben Yoder gave us a little bit of instruction on the parameters of what we have our jurisdiction, so to speak.
He's done that for the Historic Commission in the past. And I think this group too.
Well, funny you mention that. A friend of mine in church said, on the same issue, he says, you know, people already believe that I'm an idiot. I don't want to confirm it when I open my mouth.
long I've been on here. You know?
Between members outside of the commission meeting about issues.
That's okay, yeah. Yeah, I'm on here, and I'm this board's appointee to the Board of Zoning Appeals as well. So. Yeah, because, well, when this first,
Well, that's an interesting question. Well, of course, it let's say you look on your phone this year, for whatever reason, you're going this particular process.
Do we break it about 8:20? Does that sound right? 8:30. Good round number.
But I don't know that.
Claire said they're gonna make arrangements for training.
Almost to the.
Well, everybody's fairly new, actually.
So, her daughter is Deanna. She went to Middletown also. She would have been a grade above you.
I think AJ and you were on at the same time.
Oh, okay.
You just weren't able to come for the first meeting or two, right?
You weren't able to, yeah, January 13th, I couldn't make that either. Monday night I have a commitment. So I can't really.
Middletown, we're one of those where I feel like we're deceptively big too. Yeah. I remember so I was in show choir, and I remember going to, they can hear about me being in show choir. Oh, nice. I remember going to competitions, and we would talk to, you mingle and stuff, and like, oh, like, where are you from? Like, what's it like? And like, some of my friends like, oh, it's kind of a small school, small area. I'm like, yeah, we're not a small school. Like, some of these people here, like, they're like maybe 100 people there. Like, we're not small. But
Well, the guy that requested is not even here right now.
Yeah,
so.
well, yeah, he is.
He is?
Yeah, Paul's back there.
Okay.
Maybe he's keeping track of the time.
this is about everybody, you think? Looks like everybody's back in. So go ahead and bring us back to order. In which case, I believe we were at deliberations. All right, so getting back into it, does anyone have any comments, questions at this time?
So I'm just going to reiterate what I said last time, in that I don't think that we need any more gas stations, especially in that area of town. But if we are to take Talbot Moon's citizen comment into consideration, we are discussing what is one of the few premier lots left in this city. We are in the process of building a second gate to our city. Not many are off the highway. Not many cities have that opportunity, and I don't think that we should squander it with development that does not bring as much revenue, maybe revenue isn't the right word, enough actual value into that area as it could. we should not be, I don't think that we should be letting a corporation play with our zoning code like putty to fit their needs for a lot that that it just doesn't fit in. The planned development district is so let's see. It should not be used to address a non-conforming situation for a lot that will be used for a single building and where the use is permitted, but where such use does not comply with other applicable standards. And if I am correct, the gas stations are not approved for the BCH. And also that the 5 acre minimum site area, we should only waive that if it can be demonstrated that the proposed project is of such unique situation as to warrant review. I don't think another corner gas station is an incredibly unique situation, and that is my bit.
Thank you. I would have 2 main questions for staff, if you don't mind. I would like to, before I get to that, I would like to just say though that my feelings bear no opinion towards the Wawa brand whatsoever. Frankly, I appreciate what was presented. It seems like a company that cares about its employees, can bring a lot of value to an area, and frankly, I think it would be cool to have one in Middletown, and so that, I just want to have that stated. With that, my first question is, it was brought up that 2 of the potential uses for consideration were the commercial and service. Could we have some clarification? Is there a separate type of use for like a food or a convenience market? Does that fit within a commercial or service establishment, or is there another further type that would fit in?
So if you look at our zoning code, it's broken down by residential, commercial, industrial, stuff like that. And under commercial, it is an umbrella of uses. That does include restaurants, drive-through restaurants, convenience stores, and retail fuel sales. So they're all under the commercial use.
Okay.
So that is correct in saying that it is a commercial use. So, yes.
Sure, thank you. My second question has to do with, I recognize this is not something that is maybe a super simple explanation, so I will apologize in advance. I recognize, on the one hand, I find it very important to put value on the code. It's there for a reason. If we're looking completely objectively outside of what value a given business will bring, it seems to me that it does not fit the code. And I'm saying this purely of no opinion on the good and benefit that the company could bring. That being said, I think we're all aware, as been mentioned a couple of times, there is a very similar seeming business that was approved tonight directly, I guess, across the street. So I recognize that it's not a super cut and dry thing. If someone were to look at this not knowing about codes and this process, I can see where, one side of the street, this is good, this side is not, and where that could be kind of hard to reconcile or understand. Is there, in brief, can we maybe discuss on where this discrepancy is coming from so that it's not just, oh, this one is very similar and it's a yes, this one is a no, though? Can we kind of get to the heart of that?
So when the development across the street was approved, it included a variety of uses. So it listed off everything, and in your sheets staff report, it did include the listed uses, the intended uses, the architectural standards of those uses, and stuff like that. So that is that 51 acres that's the planned development district. It includes a variety of parcels, but it is in total 51 acres. When you were looking at this single site for one use, where the proposed use is not permitted in the base zoning, that's where the plan development option is offered to applicants. However, it kind of goes to, you can always ask, that doesn't mean you're going to be approved.
Sure.
So there are 3 routes the applicant could have gone. Map amendment, which would have been spot zoning, because none of the surrounding districts, you can pull those boundaries to include that CVS pharmacy parcel. You can do use variance, however, you have to meet all the criteria for that use variance to be approved. The existing site, I just, putting my BZA hat on, I don't think it would have met the review criteria for use variance. And then the last option is a plan development district. So that's what they landed on.
Sure. So just to be clear then, when we're talking about that PD district, the one across the street, which includes the new, so that's like the new event center, I apologize if I'm getting like the nomenclature wrong. The entirety of that is one PD itself?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification. Anyone have any further questions that could be addressed maybe by staff at this time? Or any other comments that we'd want to share for during deliberation? I'll just say again, I think it's important that we value what the code says. And it seems that in this situation, with it being the size that it is and the fact that it is only one building, it's kind of in there. This is by no means on my part a judgment on Wawa as a company or a brand. I would love to see them come to Middletown, and I think it would be a great benefit to the city to have them there. But in this case, because of the way that the code is written, I will be voting no.
So no other comments?
You know, if I was king of the world here, I would put the Wawa at this location and get the Sheets place, something else there, like a nice restaurant or something else that's more attractive. But I'm going to have to vote no. But I will point out that if not this, what is that location going to be?
Yeah.
This is sort of like other areas here in Middletown where you have subdivisions come in and you start building and you have an odd-side lot someplace and you don't have nothing to do with it. I know we've approached that a number of times in the BZA and in other commissions here. But I have to agree that we don't really need 2 of these stations that look almost the same across the street from each other. And I don't think either one of them are that attractive for that location.
I think that if something were to come along that was not a single building, that was seeking to use the PD to be seeking a variance for the size, something that, like I said, wasn't one building, wasn't something that is almost entirely in the service of cars, which I think is another layer of irony when the PD district is designed for mixed-use walkable development, that I would be more willing to grant like a variance for I don't know entirely what, but definitely not one building and not something that is so contrary to the intended use of the PD district.
Do we have any further comments from any other members of the commission, or do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to deny.
Do we have a second?
Mr. Minto?
Yes to deny.
Mr. Cash?
No to approve.
Mr. Stomlin?
Yes.
To approve.
To deny. Right?
That's correct. Yes to deny.
Yes.
Mr. Daniel?
Yes to deny.
Mr. Parsons?
Yes to deny.
And Ms. Ramsey?
Thank you. All right, that brings us to item C, which is a conditional use. Ms. Fetters? Thank you.
This is a request by applicant Lakeisha Thomas of Key Better Day Society for a conditional use approval to allow for a fraternal, charitable, or service-oriented club at 1342 Central Avenue. The property is zoned UCC Urban Core Central Subdistrict, where fraternal, charitable, and service-oriented club use type is considered a conditional use. Fraternal, charitable, and service-oriented clubs is defined in Chapter 1230 of the Middletown Development Code as a building or portion thereof, or premises owned or operated by a corporation, association, or group of persons for a social, educational, religious, or recreational purpose, but not primarily for a profit or to render a service which is customarily carried on as a business. For property background, the last documented use of the property, according to city records, was a personal service establishment, specifically for a tattoo parlor in April 2023. The purpose of the UCC zoning district is to encourage, support, and enhance downtown Middletown as a mixed-use, high-intensity urban district and a center of retail, service, entertainment, office, government, and urban residents. The UCC subdistrict encouraged pedestrian-oriented retail or eating, drinking, and entertainment establishments on the ground floor and residential on the upper floors, but also allows service, office, institutional, and recreational uses. So the applicant proposes a dual use of the property, nursery schools or daycare centers for children or adults use type, as well as the fraternal, charitable, and service-oriented club use type. The nursery or daycare center, children or adults use type is a permitted use with use-specific standards in the subject zoning district. The other use of the property, the charitable-oriented club, is considered a conditional use. And I do want to clarify the definition of a nursery school or daycare center that is defined in the Middletown Development Code as a facility administrating to the needs of infants, toddlers, preschool children, and school children outside of school hours by persons other than their parents or guardians, custodians, or relatives by blood, marriage, or adoption for any portion of the 24-hour day in a building other than the child's own home. This use may include, but is not limited to, after-school programs, office daycare centers, and principal structures used for the only daycare or nursery school program. This term may also include adult daycare centers where persons other than the children, family members, or guardians care for a portion of a 24-hour day in a building other than the adult's home. I already read the definition of the fraternal, charitable, and service-oriented club, and then also called out as the use-specific standards for the club. Accessory uses necessary to the operation of such use, such as clubhouses, restaurants, bars, swimming pools, and other similar activities, shall be permitted if they comply with the applicable standards. However, such uses where the conduct of business is the principal activity shall be prohibited. And here's table 1204-3. Per the Middletown Development Code, Chapter 1226, Table 1226-1, Notice Requirements. Published notice was given 10 days before the Planning Commission public hearing via the Journal News, and written notice was provided to the applicant as well as all property owners contiguous and directly across the street or public right-of-way of the subject property. One comment has been received at this time. Before I go into that comment, going into city management comments, further clarification is needed on the support services that are proposed to be offered as part of the conditional use. Community and Economic Development Department did state additional detail on which services are offered by Ms. Thomas's organization, other than the after-school programming is needed. Additionally, this type of development does not fit well into the current use and future uses of the UCC subdistrict. There are currently various bars, restaurants, and retail establishments in the immediate vicinity of the proposed site, and after-school care would likely not fit well into this. An alternative location ought to be discussed with Ms. Thomas, as the city is working on projects in nearby neighborhoods that could be complemented by her organization and the services they offer. The proposed use within the district is intended to be highly commercial, especially on the first floor, With the nearby restaurants and stores, it is unclear if the proposed use will be complementary to the upcoming downtown project to revitalize and rejuvenate the downtown area. Lastly, there could be an overlap with the Dora district and operating hours of the proposed business. Here's public comment number 1. I know it's a bit blurry on your screen. It was emailed to you prior to this meeting. It was also cited the use-specific standards for nursery and daycare center. I know that's a little outside of why we are here, but bringing them up nonetheless. As for the comprehensive plan, this property does fall into the downtown plan land use category, which is defined as the downtown special area that is addressed by the downtown master plan. Just like for the last case, looking at the development opportunities map, this is an important focal point of the city. The area includes nationally registered downtown Central Avenue and South Main historic districts. Revitalization is planned to increase opportunities for residential and commercial development. That includes retail and recreational and entertainment uses. Redevelopment will encourage community pride, enhance appreciation for the city's history, and contribute to the overall health of the community. Going into the Middletown Downtown Strategic Plan, you can see the live theme, move safely, attract strategically, and grow smart plan themes, as well as the supporting plan principles, do not quite offer the clarity of lending this proposed use. Here's the application and zoning application. The use narrative from the applicant that was provided to me after your staff report went out. And there is a printed copy at your seat as well. Here is one of the 2 surveys provided by the applicant just a couple hours before the meeting. I did not include all of it as it includes some publicly identifiable information. So here's just a general snapshot of what the survey is asking of applicants or the survey takers. The other survey I did not include on here. It's 16 pages, and it is from the, I believe, a Christmas toy drive that the applicant runs. And I believe it's just asking the applicant, or the survey taker, excuse me, general questions about like who to buy the toys for. And then here's the other half of that first survey. Here's the surrounding structures and area. As for staff recommendation, staff recommends continuing the application until the next regular meeting at a minimum to provide the applicant additional time to clarify the proposed use. As I was looking at that initial survey that you guys saw on your screen, I'm just continue to be a little confused on what is actually going on in terms of the no-cost living support that is provided, as well as if there's going to be any food offered, any prepared food offered, and if any boarding is going to be offered. And then the survey results furthermore indicate the measurement of behavioral improvement and disability. And I just want to talk to the applicant and clarify what is exactly going on for all of the uses proposed. And then here's your review criteria for conditional use. Additional review criteria. And then the time limit in appeals. And then that will conclude my staff report.
Thank you. Do we have any initial questions? No? Okay. And at this time, we'll open up the public hearing. If anyone would like to speak in support, I invite you to come forward and identify yourself.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to invite the Health Department Commissioner, Jackie Carter, to come up. 2 things that are advertised at the front of the business is CPR and first aid certified, and then also de-escalated training. And let me be very clear, we want businesses in Middletown, but all businesses are different. And some need certifications, some just need a lease and insurance. So our health department, it has to do with everything when it comes with humans, be it restaurants or children or human beings. And I'd just like her to just address and possibly even work with Claire to have that interview process so they come back next month. It's this mic over here, sir. Yeah. Thank you.
Have we had you sworn in? Mr. Cash?
Let me swear you. Here you go.
Right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give before this commission will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Good evening. Boy, do you guys get paid for this? It's kind of okay, so good evening. I am not in support or in support. I am in support of Claire, working with Claire to work with Ms. Thomas. I think it's important that we are really clear of what we're trying to do. And I know that as a Middletown city, and I like dogs too and cats too, so I deal with everything, plans should be able to expand pretty seamlessly, right? And so a daycare, childcare in certain places may be a good thing today and not tomorrow. So you need to know what kind of services you're gonna have. And I think Claire and I were looking at, we're not really clear. Daycare, after-school care, et cetera. And it's my understanding it's right in the district of the DORA, right in the district of other things. Secondly, if you're going to move into some more enhanced programming, if you will, with children, a lot of licensing and certification is involved, especially if you're going to receive federal funds or even state funds. So you want to make sure you're able to expand in that area. Some requirements may say that you can't be so many feet within alcohol or et cetera. So you want to make sure when you're doing planning, you're going to say, what's your scope? As far as health department would be concerned, which is my expertise, if they're going to be cooking, if they're going to be feeding the kids, et cetera, it would need to be licensing involved there. And so we would get involved with that and what goes on there, some safety issues, et cetera. But I too would like to do like Claire and maybe meet with Ms. Thomas and see what the scope, what the whole vision is. To start something today with 4 kids, because I think that is the limit you can have per adult supervision. And then if you go more, you're gonna have to be able to expand or not. And then we'll be coming across different, blocks in the planning, and we wouldn't wanna do that either. But it may be a good use if we find out what the actual scope is. And I think we need to find out a little more information. And so, and to find maybe a really good area where they can do this, maybe not facing the DORA, but facing another another direction or whatever, not knowing what all is available. So that's what I'm here to, and I can answer any questions, but as we develop downtown, it may not be conducive for that. But then it may be. You just have to see what the scope of the plan is. And I think it may have looked kind of confusing, but then maybe Ms. Thomas can clarify some of that tonight. But should I stay here or leave?
Any questions from the commission? No. Not at this time.
And I do know Ms. Thomas from some past encounters, and she is very, amenable to doing what is best. But it's really important that we do the correct thing so we can make sure that we can do, and not block, different hopes and dreams and really good opportunities in our city, so.
I do have one question
Yes.
for you. What kind of situations would you have where you'd be limited to how far you are from a liquor establishment?
If you start getting into different daycares or whatever, if you get into any of the, help me out with like marijuana sales or the use or anything like that, sometimes with different licensing, they'll say that you can't be a certain, so close to alcohol sales, bar sales, et cetera. So that could become a problem there with any kind of adult, if you will, activity that's down there with, if you're getting licensed and with your, your state and federal funds.
Because there are two bars directly across the street from this building.
Yes, yes.
It's almost like the reverse of zoning. In other words, if you have a daycare center there and then someone wants to open up a restaurant that serves alcohol, then we would have to take their side. Versus now, this is unfortunately in the reverse. We have established restaurants that also serve alcohol with the proper licensing. So now that has an area, a zone that they cannot have those things. Just like she said with the medical and recreational marijuana, it says, okay, you can have it here, but you have to be 500 feet away from childcare, churches, government entities, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and sometimes when you're doing nonprofit things and working with lower income population, you do not want your population to be in an area where it may be a trigger or where it be something that you don't want them to go to or whatever. So you just have to kind of look at all the above, all the different, and make sure that you have, exit routes if you're going to do it that way. But sometimes it's just not a good place to do your business. But again, I'm not really sure what the scope of business was going to be. So I would really need to look at that and speak directly to her, not just that one-page application. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yeah, but.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor?
Hello, my name is Lakeisha Thomas, 1500 First Avenue, Middletown, Ohio. So I wanted to just explain what the organization does. First and foremost, we've been in business here in Middletown for 4 years, and we sustain low-income individuals like Ms. Phillips was saying. So with that being said, we actually have a after-school program. We do supply basic living needs to the community. So they get like free basic living items like clothing and shoes and all that good stuff. However, this like our clothes and all that good stuff is like in another location. So we just have our office and main operations on Central Avenue. But we do have our after-school program, and that's just basically what we're doing. We just have an after-school program for the kids, and we do we work with them with like behaviors and things like that, because a lot of the kids are low income and they have behaviors, and a lot of them are on like IEP plans and stuff like that. So we do help with like just work with them with stuff like that. And that's pretty much what we're doing. So I hope that helps.
So to be clear then, with the services outside of purely the after school, which is falling more within that kind of daycare category, is that tracking? That would be happening at the central location.
Right.
Those other services, those do not happen there other than maybe the administration of them, it sounds like?
Most of the time, we do appointments, like by appointments, but it is mobile. That is a mobile type program where we deliver them items and we screen them for what they need.
Okay. So say it's like, normal business hours during the school day at this location, it would be, staff would be there working on administrative type things? Okay.
From 11 a.m. until 6 at the latest p.m. We try to get out there about 5:30, 6 o'clock from Monday through Friday.
Okay.
So there wouldn't be any children?
Oh,
that
yes,
location?
there's children there
Okay.
Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. until 5:30, 6 p.m. because we work with AM kids, like preschoolers, and we also work with the kids that go to like, PM regular school kids. So we have AM.
What age groups would be at that location?
We work from 3 years old up to, our oldest child is 13. So we have 3-year-old up to 13-year-olds.
And what about food preparation?
We don't cook food there or nothing like that. We promote the parents to bring, like pack them a lunch or, but we will provide them with snacks there, like chips and pop, stuff like that, or juice or water, Slim Jims, cookies, stuff like that.
And no, like, boarding or anything?
Boarding, what do you mean by that?
Overnight.
Oh, no, 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 no. We don't have any overnight. They're gone by 5:30, 6 o'clock at the latest, Monday through Friday.
And I apologize because I think you may have addressed this last meeting. Can you specify with transportation for those school-age children, is there a bus or van that brings them kind of en masse, or is this a individually dropped off in cars, they walk there?
Well,
What
we
does
have
that look like?
some parents that bring them like their own transportation, and then we do provide transportation like for a couple of the kids, the parents. Yes.
Gotcha.
And that's
What-
like 2 kids, just 2 kids.
Okay.
And you're intending to use the back entrance for transportation?
Absolutely. We're using the back for everything. We don't use the front. The front door is usually locked, and like I said, we're to the general public appointment only. So they like people that know about us, they can't just come and get what they want. They have to make an appointment and go through the operations to get free stuff.
Yeah, I just remember that being a concern in the public comment.
Yes.
Yeah, that was shown.
Yes. We are using the back door as, and then we do keep the doors locked and have like alarms, you know, like when you come in, you can hear people coming into the door.
And what do you, how do you feel about the comments on like, if you were to grow in scope, the limitations of the site that you've chosen, like, do you foresee anything? Do you have any input on that?
Well, you know what? I talked to our employees and everyone, the clients, and I think the best thing for us to do, our biggest deal is we're in a lease, and we're not going to be out until like June. So it's going to cost us a lot of money to move. So, but we are willing to do that. We're okay with moving. And we actually have another location on the First Avenue. So I will be checking out their zoning before we go in there. So, yeah.
Yeah, 'cause
We,
like I
we
said
just
in
would
the-
like a little more time. I guess that would be the ultimate.
So are you requesting more time then?
Yes, we would like more time because we would like to change locations. But like I said, we wouldn't be able to do this until like June because our lease is not up until June. And that's our biggest thing. But we are, you know, like we're willing to move and because we definitely want to grow and have more kids come. It's a wonderful program. So.
And I remember last session, Miss Griffith here, I had it highlighted, let me get to it. Miss Griffith had mentioned that yeah, the location that you chose is probably the most affordable for you. At the
Absolutely, that was
time.
another thing, because we are a nonprofit. We help low-income people, and we just do the kids, like we said, to help really the parents, because they need that support. Like just their kids need somewhere to go. They have jobs and stuff like that. So the clients that we have, we're trying to help them out as well too.
So are you operating from that location now?
Yes, sir. We actually are closed like right now because we had some issues with the water, but we are operating though, generally.
You're operating at 1342 Central Avenue now?
Well, not today, no.
Well, I know.
We were, yes, sir,
Currently,
yes.
currently.
Yes, sir.
You have any other questions?
I guess I'm wondering, how are you operating now if you're in front of us asking for a conditional use? Has the city contacted you and inquired as to whether you are legally operating in that location now, since you're here?
No, they have not. No.
How long have you been operating there?
I've been there for about since June of 23, or maybe I might, yes, June.
guess I'm kind of confused. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I am too, because I'm just trying to figure out why, like we've been doing business and we just, I don't understand it either. I don't know.
Well,
I just,
something prompted you to.
I prompted because I wanted to get like stuff done, so I came to the city myself, like just because of the building situations. I just wanted to get like the building certificate occupancy or whatever. I started there, and then this is how this came along. So I'm the one who actually.
When you requested a certificate of occupancy.
Yes.
Then everything started.
Yes,
to
and
unravel.
yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I just been going through the steps to, But I didn't know that we have a legitimate business, and like I said, I've been doing business in Middletown. I just moved. I was actually on Central with the chamber. I was in there first.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been doing business. That's why we just moved to a bigger location. Okay. And I didn't know all this was behind all of it. So we're just trying to get it all in order.
Sure. Thank you. Do we have anyone else wishing to speak?
Y'all gotta bear with me. I gotta walk down.
Excuse me.
Okay. My name is LaWanda Harris. I live at 2405 Sherman Avenue, Middletown, and I am a volunteer at Ms. Thomas's establishment. And what we do, basically, we, let me catch my breath, walking down here. We basically give the kids more than an after-school program. We introduce them to science projects. We teach them, we don't teach them, but we show them arts and crafts. We take them on field trips, like they go to the museum. They go, we've taken them swimming during the summer. We do a lot more than just being a simple daycare. We teach the kids to be more aware of their surroundings. We teach them hygiene. We show them, some kids in the lower class, they tend to at home not have a couple of hygiene things, or we provide those for them. We provide coats, school supplies when school start. We also, what else? Oh yeah, we also had a child that just won an award for outstanding learning and what you call it? Him just becoming more aware. He got an award, and they had a ceremony for him and everything that came out of Ms. Thomas's program. So this program is just not a daycare. It's helping these kids learn that there are other things out there. We have music therapy, where we have somebody come in and teach them different other kind of music. Not hip hop, just stuff to stimulate their minds. And we're trying to grow bigger because we want to teach this to more, not teach, but we want to show this to other kids to let them know that there's more out there than what they think, than what they're being showed. So that is what I help her do.
Very good. Do we have any questions?
Nope.
No. Thank you.
Thank you guys for listening.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? All right. Do we have anyone wishing to speak against? All right, seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. Do we have some deliberation?
I guess the city was proposing that we sort of put this on the shelf so they can figure out more what's going to be done, and maybe they could look for a different location. I have a real problem with the location myself.
Sure. I would agree on that front that maybe a better location could be a better option for all involved. I be in favor of whatever is necessary to keep the conversation going. Also, just want to say thank you to you both for being patient tonight and speaking. I also just want to say that I appreciate what you are doing and what your organization represents, and I hope that the city, by whatever means possible, can find a way to work with you guys to be able to have what you are doing to continue to impact the community positively. So thank you for that. And unless there's any other deliberation or questions, what would be the best method to allow this to continue?
I would move that this application be continued till the next month's meeting in order that Ms. Thomas can, there's just way too many unknowns, both on our part, by us, as well as the city, and so I would move that it be continued a month to the next meeting so that Ms. Thomas can work with planning department and
I'll second that
try
motion.
to resolve some of these unknowns.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Mento,
Yes.
Mr. Cash,
Yes.
Mr. Shamlin,
Yes.
Mr. Daniel,
Yes.
Mr. Parsons,
Yes.
and Ms. Ramsey.
Yes.
All right. Do we have any other business?
Before everybody skedaddles, yeah. I would like to hold a training with you guys over your review criteria for your various applications you'll see before you. In light of your recent agendas and knowing your upcoming agenda for March, I would like to see if anybody would be open to a special meeting, and I could send out some proposed dates at that time, if everybody is open to that.
I personally would really appreciate some training, especially on the different routes that applicants can take for bringing stuff before us, and also maybe things that the members themselves, like how we can word and propose amendments and new items, I guess.
Perfect. All right, I will send out some dates and times instead of holding it before or after a regular meeting.
All right, thank you.
That's
Welcome to our new members. Happy to have you. Look forward to working with you all, and let's have a great 2025.
Mr. Chairman, I have old business, but because there's more people here, I want to just repeat it. We mentioned the last meeting but we had more people here. I do want to encourage, because you did volunteer, which we appreciate, that you do meet monthly, even if we don't have cases, because at least then you can review the meeting minutes, so we're not going 2 months of reviewing and trying to remember the meeting minutes. And again, like I said it before, you can start looking into and see if you see a text amendment that you think that needs to be changed. Things change over time. And then the last one, and this just because mainly everyone's here, I'm going to do this at the beginning of each quarter, but City Council does want a report at the end of the year. It doesn't have to be, but just a report of what was done over the year, how many cases you heard, whatever you feel appropriate. But it is in there, and we would like to have a report emailed to us by the December meeting. So I'll just remind you, at April, July, and then October, that we just want to have a report, just so we know what's going on. Because again, you're an advisory board to us, so we want to know how we're doing. And now I'm done. Thanks.
I think we get time and a half for extra meetings.
Please do.
Time served, maybe. Do we have a motion for adjournment?
Yes.
I'll second.
All right, we're adjourned.